So good evening each and every one of you. Welcome to Vedantu NEET English. This is Baswaraj. I'm your biology master teacher. So students, good evening each and every one of you. I hope all of you are safe, sound and doing extremely well in life. So let me know in the chat how is everyone doing, and we will start today's class, that is morphology of flowering plants. So before I start, students, before I start the class, let me ask you a simple question. Yes, can I ask you a simple question? As usual, in my class, we start with a simple question. The question for today is ultimate question, most difficult question. The question is, how many of you love tea? Yes, how many of you love the tea? Because I love tea. Every single morning, my mother gets me a cup of tea and I enjoy tea so much. Especially a ginger tea. So how many of you love ginger tea? Let me know in the chat. How many of you know? How many of you love drinking ginger tea? Now, the real question is, the ginger tea. The main component of your ginger tea is ginger. Yes, one of the most important part of your ginger tea is ginger. But students, the question here is the ginger a stem or a root? Let me know in the chat right now. Is the ginger, yes, all of you know the ginger, right? I call it shunti in my language, shunti in Kannada. But is that ginger, is it a stem or is it a root? Because I asked my mother in the morning and she was like, it is a root. But let me know in the chat, how many of you know if it is a stem or if the ginger a root? So while with that, let me start today's class. So before I start, everyone in the chat should like the video, share the video and subscribe to the channel. So the answer is very simple. The ginger is actually a stem. It is a stem, it is not a root. But sir, I know I have seen a lot of sand, a lot of mud on the ginger. But how can you be so sure that ginger is a stem? How? What could be the reason behind it? Students, if you look at this ginger, if you closely look at the ginger, it has something called as, if you look at the ginger, right? If you look at the ginger, does it have scales on top of it? Yes, sir, I have noticed. Yes, sir, I have noticed there are scales on the ginger. Do you know what are these scales? The scales on the ginger are nothing but your nodes and internodes, which are only and only found on the stem, not on the root. There it is, one of the first properties of your root. How do you distinguish a root and a stem? The main distinguishing feature between your stem and a root is stem will have nodes and internodes. The stem will have nodes and internodes, while your roots will not have nodes and internodes. So that is the story of the tea. If you like the video and if you like that question, if you were able to answer that question, I want you to like the video. If you were not able to answer, don't worry. But if you understood it, why was I asking about tea? Like the video again. So students, we'll be doing morphology of flowering plants. Ever since the first video, that is plant families, all of you been asking, sir, where is basic botany? Where do I learn the basics of morphology? This is the video. In today's video, I'll be teaching you all the way from the basics to the advanced level. Every single line of NCERT. Yes, every single line of NCERT, every diagram of NCERT, and a lot of previous year questions along with a lot of images. So students, what is the importance of the chapter? This chapter here, right here, this chapter, morphology of flowering plants, includes at least 14 to 16 marks. This chapter alone constitutes around 14 to 16 marks. And that 14 to 16 marks can be a game changer. It can make you a topper to a dropper. Hundreds of ranks can vary with just 16 marks. So students, if you want those 16 marks in your pocket, if you want to earn those 16 marks, I want each and every one of you to watch the video till the end. Yes, will you promise me that? Will you promise me that you will watch the video till the very end if you want to earn those 16 marks today? Let's confirm 16 marks today with this chapter, that is morphology of flowering plants. So what is the syllabus here? The syllabus here is your root, stem, leaf, inflorescence, flower, fruit and seed. Entire of this we'll be doing today. Then this part is already done. So students, stay with me till the end and I'll make sure you understand every single line of NCERT today. Ready? Can I get a thumbs up in the chat? Can I get a hearts in the chat? Can I get some lightning or green hearts in the chat if I can start today's amazing class, that is morphology of flowering plants? Can we start? Amazing. I know all of you will be there till the end if you want to learn the entire of this particular chapter. Can we start? Okay, let me look at the chat once here. I'm not able to look at the chat. Yes. Amazing. I'm looking at the chat. I'm able to look at the chat now. Now, what is the meaning of morphology? Basics. What is the meaning of morpho? The meaning of morpho is nothing but a shape or form. Yes, morpho means shape or form and logy means to study. So in the case of morphology, we are learning the shape and the form of plants. Yes, it's also called as your phytomorphology. It's also called as phytomorphology, where we study the external features of a plant. Yes, sir, we study the external features of plant in the case of morphology. Similarly, in the anatomy, we learn the internal structure. That is going to be your next class. Okay. Now, students, quickly tell me the answer for this question. We know this is your root system. Yes, sir, this is the root system, and this is the shoot system. Now, I'll ask you a simple question. How many parts out of all of these above is vegetative in nature? Quickly tell me in the chat. How many of the following parts are vegetative in nature? Vegetative in nature. If you look at the shoot system, in the shoot system, we have the stem. Yes, sir, stem is a vegetative part. We have leaves. We have the branches. These are the vegetative parts. And then we also have the roots. Which are also the part of your vegetative parts. Yes. Now, who can tell me in the chat which of the following are reproductive parts? First, how many of them are reproductive in nature? Quickly tell me. Obviously, the first answer is going to be nothing but your flower. Yes, sir. Flower is a reproductive unit. Yes, flower is the reproductive unit. Then we have, what about fruit? Yes, sir. Fruit is also a reproductive part. We have the fruit. Then we have the seed. These are the following are your vegetative parts. These are the following your reproductive parts. The entire plant system has been divided into two parts. That is your shoot system, and we have the root and the shoot system. Students, are you following till now? I want yes sir in the chat, and I will teach you the next concepts, that is your root system. Can we start? The class? I want each and every one of you to like the video right now and stay till the end. That is the only thing I'm going to ask you today. Please watch the video till the end so all of you can guarantee those 16 marks in your pocket today. Let's go. Now, I'll ask you one simple question first. Yes, sir, we know this is your seed. Yes, this is a seed. From the seed, we know there is plumule development and there is radical development. There is plumule and radical. We know the shoot. We know the root. The root develops from your radical. Yes, sir, the root develops from the radical. That's the first point. Now, the second point about root which I want to ask all of you is, does the root generally, is it underground or is it above the ground? Simple. Basics. We know the root. Let me write with me. We know root is a underground part. Yes, root is a underground part. Yes, that is also correct. Now I'll ask you one more question. Is the root green in color or is the root brown in color? We know most of the times your root is non-green. Yes, root is non-green nature. Now, if it is non-green, does it mean it has chlorophyll? No. If it is not green, it does not have chlorophyll. So can I write a point with you, all of you? There is absence of chlorophyll. Yes, sir, there is absence of chlorophyll. You're correct. The next point, the root. All of us know when we have, this is the soil, if the root is growing, is the root growing towards the gravity or is it growing away from the gravity? Simple, all of you know. This is the gravity, Earth's gravity is going this side, and we also know the roots. The roots grow towards the gravity. What is the term for that? The term for that is positive geotropism. So the roots show what? The roots show positive geotropism. Yes, it shows positive geotropism. Now what about your roots? Does it grow towards the light or does it grow away from the light? Quickly tell me in the chat. We know the roots. We know the roots, they grow away from the light. So can I call them negatively phototropic? Yes, sir. We can call them negatively phototropic or negative phototropism. Now, remember the T I asked you in the starting. In your ginger, you see nodes and internodes. But I also mentioned in the case of your roots, the nodes and internodes are completely absent. Yes, that is the last point here, that nodes and internodes are completely absent here. These are the following properties of a root. A root is always developed from a radical. Root is the underground part. It is non-green nature, that meaning chlorophyll is absent. It is positive geotropism. It is negatively phototropic. There is no nodes and internodes are completely absent in the case of root. Now, any doubt here? Any doubt here, students? Till now, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. I will clear a doubt right now. If not, next I'll be teaching you types of roots. Can we start? Can we start in the chat? I want thumbs up in the chat and I'll teach you the next topic, that is your functions of the root, not types, functions of the root. Now students, all of us know the basic function of root. The first basic function of root is absorption. Yes, the basic function of root is your absorption of water and minerals. Absorption of water and minerals. Now all of us know the roots also call roots. The function of root as an anchorage. Yes, roots perform anchorage. That is one of the function. There does anchorage. That is, they make sure the plant stays in a place. That is, they make sure they are anchor for the entire plant. The next one is, can some of the roots become fleshy and they can do a function called as storage? Yes, sir. We know roots can also perform storage. Then the last one here, which some of you might not know, that is, they're involved in synthesis of plant growth regulators. Yes, roots are the structures which releases certain hormones such as your cytokinins as well as gibberellins. Cytokinins and gibberellins are extensively released by your roots. Those are the functions of the root. Any doubt here? Ask me right now. The first function is your absorption of water and minerals, anchorage, storage, and synthesis of plant growth regulators. Done? The next point I want all of you to understand here is the types of roots. Yes, let's understand different types of roots. Hello Ravindrani, hello everyone, hello Crazy, hello Rupa. Amazing, all of you are following till now. The next one I'll teach you is types of roots. Yes, draw the flow chart with me. Draw the flow chart with me, all of you. In total, there are 2 types of roots. But in your NCERT, it says 3 types. I'll be telling you what are the 3 types and why. I'll also be telling you why we only have 2 types of roots. Okay, can we start? Now, the first type is your taproot. Okay, the first type is your taproot. Then we have fibrous root. Then we also have something called as adventitious roots. Adventitious roots. Now I'll be telling you exactly why there are only 2 types, but NCERT is mentioning 3 types. Stay with me, all of you. Now, what is a taproot? taproot is a root which develops. Taproot is a root which develops directly from radical. It develops directly from radical. Yes, it develops directly from the radical. That is called as a taproot. Yes, correct, sir. That is called as a taproot. Example is your angiosperms, gymnosperms, all the roots of your angiosperms and gymnosperms. Okay, and also this is seen most of your, obviously, the dicots. The angiospermic dicots, you see the taproot. Then we have the something called as fibrous root. Then we have something called as fibrous root. Now, what is a fibrous root? Fibrous root is a root which arises from base of the stem. What is the meaning of this, sir? What type of root actually develops from the base of the stem? Listen to me very carefully now. Listen to me very, very carefully. If this is your stem, yes, sir, this is the stem. At the base of the stem, from here, at the nodal regions, the roots will develop as a bunch. That is called as your fibrous root. What is a fibrous root? Fibrous roots are the roots which arise from the base of the stem. Students, this statement is extremely important because this is a direct previous year question. That is, what are fibrous roots? Roots which arise from the base of the stem. What are the examples for this? The examples for this is nothing but your monocots. The example here is monocots. Now, what is the meaning of adventitious roots? Adventitious roots are the roots which develop from any part of the plant, except the radical. Apart from radical, if the roots are arising, if the roots are developing, that is called as adventitious roots. Now listen to me very carefully. Very, very carefully. Some of you are extremely smart. You might have figured it by now. Who are the smart kids? Smart kids would have already figured out. Sir, you told me fibrous roots originate or develop from the base of the stem. Now you're also telling me adventitious roots are the roots which develop from any part of the plant except the radical. Is this radical? No, sir, because this is also not radical. So can I call fibrous root also a type of adventitious root? Because your fibrous root is not arising from radical, it is arising from the base of the stem. That is why your fibrous root is also a type of adventitious roots. Clear? Now, adventitious root. Here we have multiple different types. In some cases, something called as foliar roots. On the tip of the roots, right, this is the margin of the leaf. From the margin of the leaf, the roots will start to arise. From the leaf margin, the roots will start to arise. That is also a type of adventitious root. Again here, from the stem, right, this is a stem. At the nodal region, the roots will start to arise from the nodal regions. That is also a type of adventitious root. Clear, all of you? Is everyone clear with this topic? And then we'll go to the next one. Next one I'll teach you a simple difference between, see here, this is your taproot, direct elongation of radical. Yes, sir, you told me direct elongation from radical. Base, lateral roots. So if you look at this is the main root. So if you look at your entire taproot, right? If you look at the entire taproot, we have something called as the primary root. If you look at the taproot, we have something called as your primary root, and we also have something called as your secondary roots, and we also have something called as tertiary roots. In your tap root, we have something called as primary root, secondary root, as well as tertiary roots. Present in dicots, example is your mustard. Look at fibrous roots. Fibrous roots originate from the base of the stem. Absence of the primary root. Highly branched structure present in your monocots. Example is your wheat grass and monstera. Now you might have a question. Sir, in your monocots, do they not have radicle? Simple question, right? In the case of your monocots, if they have radicle, they should have taproot. But do your monocots have radicle? The answer is yes. In the case of your monocots, there is radicle. In the case of your monocots, there is radicle. In the case of your monocots, the radicle is also producing a primary root. It is also producing a primary root. But in the case of monocots, this primary root is short-lived. It is something we call it as short-lived. And this primary root in the case of monocots completely disappears after some time, which is later replaced by the fibrous root in the case of your monocot. So the answer to the question, does the monocot have your radicle? The answer is yes. Does in the case of monocot, do they have primary root? Yes, they have primary root. But later on, this primary root gets replaced by your fibrous root. Clear? Clear, everyone? Next. This is your adventitious roots. Roots arising from the parts other than the radicle. Monstera examples. So what is the definition of adventitious roots? Roots arising from other than the radicle is adventitious root. Now, the next concept. Ready? Ready, students? The next concept I want all of you to learn is nothing but your regions of the root. Now, one question has sometimes come from here, but this concept is very important. So listen to me very carefully. Listen to me very carefully now. Write down every single notes I want all of you to write down. Okay. Now, can we start? Now, if you look at the regions of the root, I will write some words here. Let me know if you understand. This is your soil. Yes, sir, that is the soil. Towards the soil, I am calling this region called as proximal region. Towards the away from the soil, I am calling this region called as distal region. Away from the soil, I am calling it as distal region. Now, what is the meaning of this? Meaning of this is, as we go towards the soil, it is called as proximal region. As we grow away from the soil, it's called as distal region. Distal means going the distance, it's away. Proximal means it is closer. Now I'll tell you why this is important when I'll discuss each one of them. Okay. Now let's start. Let's start with the first one. That is nothing but the most terminal region. Let's start with the most terminal region of your root, which is your root cap, which is none other than your root cap. Here, this is your terminal region of your root is called as root cap. Now, can I write some points here about root cap? All of you should also write down this following points. Now, the first point here is, it is the terminal part of root. Yes, terminal part of root. What is the function of root cap? The function of root cap is very simple. The function of root cap is protection. It protects the, what is this? Ram. It protects the ram. Protects the ram, which is nothing but your root apical meristem. What does it protect? Your root cap protects the root apical meristem. Done. The next point I want all of you to understand is, the root cap is made up of your parenchyma cells. Cells. Now, in the same root cap, if the root is going towards the soil, can the root get damaged? Yes sir, root can get damaged. But what if there is a slippery substance? What if there is a small little bit of slippery substance near a root cap? Can that make the penetration of the root into the soil much more easier? Imagine your root is growing like this inside the soil. If there is something like a little smooth area here, that smooth area can make the penetration of your root into the soil much more easier. Yes. So listen very carefully. In your root cap, you also have something called as mucilage is also present here. Mucilage is also present in your root, and this mucilage comes from your Golgi bodies. From your Golgi bodies. Golgi bodies are present in the case of your root cap. Now one more question I would like to ask all of you. Students, the root cap. Is the root cap present in all the plants? The answer is very simple. The answer is actually no. There are few plants where the root cap is actually absent, such as your aquatic plants. Root cap is completely absent. In your aquatic plants and in your parasitic plants and also your epiphytes. Also in the case of epiphytes, aquatic plants, the root cap is completely absent, because in the case of your aquatic plants, does the root needs to go toward the soil? No. So there is no root cap in the case of your aquatic, parasitic, as well as in the case of epiphytes. What are epiphytes? Epiphytes are the plants which grow on other plants. Clear? Now, I hope root cap is done. Now let's take the first region here, that is region of meristematic activity. Yes, let's write some points about region of meristematic activity. I hope till now all of you are understanding. I hope you are making notes. Yes, you are making notes. Now first point about your meristematic region. Now this meristematic region is just present 10 centimeters, 20 centimeters, 1 meter above the root cap? No, it is actually just few millimeters above your root cap. This particular region of meristematic region is just present few millimeters above the root cap. Just few millimeters above the root cap. Now, it is called as region of meristematic activity. Yes, it is called as region of meristematic activity. So students, all of you know, in the case of meristem, the meaning of meristematic cells are dividing cells. So can I tell the cells present here undergo cell division? Yes, the cells in the case of your regions of meristematic region undergo rapid cell division. Yes sir, you're correct. They undergo rapid cell division. Can I also tell they have very thin walls? Yes, they have very thin walls. What about the cytoplasm? What about cytoplasm or protoplast? In the case of meristematic cells, all of us know the cytoplasm or the protoplast present there is very dense. They need a lot of protoplast to keep on dividing. So in the case of your region of meristematic region, there is very dense, very compact protoplast. Very dense, compact protoplast. That is the region of your meristematic region. So in the case of your region of meristematic activity, there are just few millimeters from the root cap. There is active cell division. There is very thin walls and there is dense, very dense protoplast present in the case of region of meristematic activity. Clear? Now, let's understand region of elongation now. Let's understand region of elongation. Can we write some points? Yes sir, we can write some points. Now I told you, this is the distal region. This is your proximal region. This is your soil. Now I'll write one line. Let me know in the chat if you can understand that line. Okay, I'll write one line right now. If you cannot understand, also I'll explain. If you can understand, also I'll explain. Okay, the line which I have to write here is the region of elongation is proximal to your RAM or your meristematic zone. This particular region of elongation is present proximal to your RAM. Think this is your RAM. This is region of meristematic activity. What is the meaning of proximal? The meaning of proximal is nothing but your, see here, this region is present proximal to your region of meristematic activity. Region of meristematic activity. That is the meaning of proximal to RAM. It is present closer to your proximal region for your RAM. Clear? The next one I have to make you understand is, what about the cells here? The cells in the case of your meristematic region completely divided. Now the divided cells need to grow. Yes, the divided cells need to grow. So can I tell one line here? The cells in the case of your region of elongation, the cells in the case of your region of elongation, here cells are undergoing rapid elongation. Yes sir, the cells here, the cells in the region of elongation are undergoing rapid elongation. They are undergoing rapid elongation and also they are undergoing rapid enlargement. They are undergoing rapid enlargement. Clear? The last point I have to tell you here is, the last point of your region of elongation is nothing but, the region of elongation is actually responsible for the growth of the root. The region of elongation is responsible for the growth of the root. Let's see the points here. The region of elongation is present proximal to the RAM. Yes, it is present near the proximal side of your meristematic region. The cells are undergoing rapid elongation. Yes, in the region of elongation, they are undergoing rapid elongation as well as rapid enlargement. They are dividing. After dividing, they are enlarging now. They are becoming larger. They are also responsible for the growth of the root. They are responsible for the growth of the root. Clear? The next point I'll teach you is, the next point, yes, growth of the root in length. In length. The next point I want to understand here is, what about region of maturation, sir? What happens in maturation? Students, remember this. Your cells are dividing. Since cells are becoming enlarged. Now once they become enlarged and elongated, they mature. They get differentiated and they perform a very fixed role and mature. Mature cells. Mature cells. What is the meaning of differentiate and mature? The meaning of that is, the cells here have a very fixed role. They have a very fixed role. That is, they have a very fixed role here. Now, from your region of maturation, from the epidermal, what is the meaning of epidermal? The meaning of epidermal is the outermost. From the region of maturation, from the epidermal region, root hair is developing. What is developing? Root hair. Root hair is developing from your epidermal region. Epidermal region, root hair is developing. Now I'll ask you a simple question here. This particular root hair here is exogenous in origin or endogenous in origin? Quickly tell me in the chat. This particular root hair here is exogenous in origin. Exogenous in origin. Exogenous in origin. Clear? Amazing. All of you know all of this. And but one more thing I usually teach to younger classes is this particular your root hair are unicellular also. There are what? Unicellular in nature. Amazing. Now, are we done with your root cap? Done, sir. Region of meristematic region. Yes. Dividing cells. Right? Dividing cells. Then we have your region of elongation. The cells are getting enlarged and elongated. Then we have region of maturation, where the cells get differentiated, mature, and they get a very fixed role, very fixed function. And from your epidermal region of your region of maturation, root hair starts to develop. Root hair starts to develop. Root hair starts to develop. That is the regions of your root done and dusthead. Done? Did you understand till now? Any doubt till now, you can ask me right now, I'll tell you. One point I have to mention here in the case of your taproot. In the case of taproot, do you see these roots? They are called as something called as your lateral roots. They are called as what? Lateral roots. Now students, remember this. Remember this. These lateral roots here, these lateral roots which are rising here are nothing but they are endogenous in origin. They are endogenous in origin. What is the meaning of endogenous in origin? These lateral roots, they are originating from your pericycle. They are developing from the pericycle. This I'll be teaching you again in the case of your anatomy, but I'm mentioning right now. Okay? Any doubt? Any doubt here? Ask me right now, because students, it is a very easy chapter. It is a very, very easy chapter. I am making sure you write down your notes and also learn with the same pace. Okay? Can we start with root modification? Can we start with root modification? Any doubt till now? Ask me. And I'll start with your root modifications. Can we start? Yes, sir. We can start with your root. We can start with your root modifications. Now, students, I will draw one entire flow chart. Draw the flow chart with me. You will understand all the modifications in the root. Parenchymatous cells. Parenchymatous cells. Don't worry, I'll be teaching you what type of cells are present in the case of your root, stem and leaf when we do the anatomy in detail. When we do the anatomy, when we take a section, right, I'll be telling you where do we have parenchymatous cells, where do we have your collenchyma, where do we have your sclerenchyma. Don't worry about the cells tissue type or cell type. I'll be teaching you that later on. Okay. Now, modification of roots. Write down with me. In total, there are 3 types. In total, modifications can be broadly told into 3 types. Are you following with me? The first type is your modification for storage. The first type of modification which you've seen, which is also given in your NCERT, is modification for the storage. Yes, plants need some storage. They are preparing so much of food, they need to store the food. Yes, modification for storage. Then we also have modification for support. Modification for support. Then we also have modification for respiration. Modification for respiration. Modification for respiration. Students, write down with me. I'll teach you one by one now. I'll teach you one by one. Now, in storage, we have 2 types. In storage, we have again 2 types. One, storage for taproot, where the taproot gets modified for storage. We also have your adventitious roots which gets modified. Adventitious roots which gets modified for storage. Now, what about taproot? The taproot, you have examples such as, which is given in your NCERT, is carrot and turnip. Carrot and turnip. Then in adventitious roots, the only example which is given here is sweet potato, and even asparagus also. Even asparagus. So students, if the root gets modified, when the root is not doing its own function apart from its normal function, that is your conduction of water, anchorage, production of your hormones, apart from the normal functions, if the plant root is doing other functions, it's called as your root modification. Root modification is of 3 types. The first type is your storage, second is your support. The root gets also modified for your respiration. We have 2 types, taproot and adventitious roots. In taproot, the example which is given in your NCERT, where the taproot gets completely swollen, is carrot. The other example is turnip. The other for your adventitious roots. For adventitious roots, we have sweet potato and asparagus. Sweet potato and asparagus. Now, let's understand support. The support the example for support. The example for support, have you seen banyan tree? Yes, sir, we have seen banyan tree. The same ghost tree, right? It's called as ghost tree. Because I used to be scared of banyan trees. I have always been told, don't go below your banyan tree in the night time. Yes. For example for your support is your banyan tree. The same banyan tree. From the same banyan tree, we have roots which are arising from the branches. From the branches, the roots are coming down, and we also call them aerial roots or prop roots. We call them what? Aerial roots or prop roots. Prop roots. Aerial roots or prop roots. In the case of banyan tree, it is a root modification for support. The next example which I have to tell you here is, have you eaten sugarcane? Have you eaten sugarcane ever? Yes, sir, I have eaten sugarcane. Sankranti is coming near, I would again get sugarcane. Pongal is coming near, sugarcane. But if you notice the sugarcane, right? Sugarcane, this is the entire stem. The stem has nodes. From the lowest node, there are roots arising. From the lowest node, roots are rising. Those type of roots are called as your stilt roots. They're called as what? Stilt roots. The example here is your sugarcane as well as your maize. Sugarcane as well as the maize, where from the lowest node, root starts to arise, called as your stilt roots. Now, done. Now let's understand respiration. Now there are certain plants. Which actually grow in your very marshy area. Yes, certain plants grow in your very marshy areas. They grow in your very marshy areas, such as your mangrove forest. Yes, mangrove forest. Now, what is the meaning of marshy area or swampy area? In this marshy as well as swampy area, what happens in marshy and swampy areas? In this marshy and swampy areas, there is a lot of salt in your soil. Lot of salt in the soil. So these plants which they can tolerate this soil. But they have an amazing method. Where the roots will start to grow out of the soil into the air. If this is the roots, right? These are roots. The roots actually turn up and they start to grow above the soil. The roots will start to grow above the soil. Why? For the oxygen. For the oxygen in the air. Because they are not able to breathe in that swampy area. That's why the roots go from underground to above the ground for the oxygen. The example which is given in your NCERT is Rhizopora. Which is a halophyte. What is the meaning of halophyte? Halophyte are the plants which can tolerate the saline conditions. And these type of fruits which grow from the soil into the air are called as your pneumatophores. They are called as what? Pneumatophores. And these pneumatophores, are they growing towards the gravity or they growing away from the gravity? Quickly tell me. These pneumatophores, they are growing away from the gravity. Can I tell negatively geotropic? Yes, sir. They are growing away from the soil. But are they growing towards the light? Yes, sir. These roots are positively phototropic in nature. So students, let me summarize for all of you. We have modification, 3 types. One is for your storage, the other one is for your support. Then we have respiration. For your storage, we have taproot and adventitious roots. In taproot, we have carrot and turnip. Example, where the taproot gets swollen for storage. Then we have adventitious roots called as sweet potato and asparagus, again for your storage of food. Then we have your support, that is seen in the case of your banyan tree. Those are called as your prop roots. Then we have stilt roots, which is seen in the case of sugarcane and maize, where roots arise from the lowermost node. Then we have for respiration, these plants are called as halophyte. They grow in your marshy or your saline conditions. These roots grow from the soil into the air. From the soil into the air. Why? For need of oxygen. And we call those roots called as pneumatophores. We call them pneumatophores. They are negatively geotropic and positively phototropic in nature. Clear? Is this point clear to all of you? Is this point clear to all of you? Tell me fast. If this point is clear, let me go to the next topic. Let me tell you the next topic. Before let me show you some pictures. This is your banyan tree. Can you see the prop roots? Yes sir, I can see the prop roots hanging from the banyan tree. Can you see the stilt roots in the case of your maize? From the lowermost node. From the lowermost node, the stilt roots are coming outside. These are your stilt roots. Then we have asparagus here, which is your NCERT for your storage. Then we have turnip, carrot and sweet potato. Remember, these two are your taproot. This is your adventitious roots. Then we have pneumatophores, which are negatively geotropic, positively phototropic. They grow from inside the soil. They go out of the soil. See here, did we learn all of this? Taproot, storage, conic, carrot and radish, respiration, pneumatophores. Then we have rhizopora. Then we have nitrogen fixation also. Some of the roots in the case of your taproot can become mutualism. They can show mutualism, or they can show some type of symbiotic relationship, where some of the roots of your leguminaceae plants, they undergo nitrogen fixation. They do nitrogen fixation with the help of certain bacteria. That is nitrogen fixation. Then we have adventitious roots for storage, sweet potato and asparagus. For support, we have prop roots, that is banyan tree. We have stilt roots for your maize and sugar cane. So with that, the entire of your root is done and dusted. Let me solve some questions here. Let me solve some questions. What is the question here? The roots that originate from the base of the stem. The roots that originate from the base of the stem. Question of your NEET 2020. From the year 2020, this question was asked. From the base of the stem, what are the roots called as? There are so many students who opted as, where is it? It was not given here. Okay, fine. So many students, I still remember, they were confused between your primary roots as well as fibrous roots. But all of us know the definition. The definition for fibrous roots is nothing but roots that arise from your base of the stem. The next question, NEET 2018 level question. Pneumatophores occur in carnivorous plant, free-floating hydrophytes, halophytes or submerged hydrophytes. I'll give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. We know halophytes grow in the pneumatophores, or the roots which are seen in the case of your halophytes, because in the halophytic region, in that region there is excess of salt. So pneumatophores arise from the soil. Question from your NEET 2018 again. Sweet potato is a modification of, is it a taproot, stem, adventitious roots or fibrous root? Tell me now. This is a direct line from your NCERT. I have made sure you write down this one. The answer is your adventitious roots, because I wrote, see here, I made sure you write down here, right? In your adventitious roots, storage is sweet potato. Adventitious roots. It is not taproot. It is not a taproot. Remember this. So many students went wrong here. Remember, don't do the same mistake. It is adventitious roots for sweet potato. Okay. The root hairs develop from the region of. The root hair develops from the which region of your root? This is a neat 2017 question. 17 question. Is it region of maturation, root cap, elongation, or meristematic activity? We know root hair are exogenous in origin. They grow from your epidermal region of what? Region of your maturation. From the region of maturation. All of these are neat level questions which you're able to solve so easily now. So students, if you're able to understand till now, if you're able to solve the questions, I want everyone to add green hearts in the chat if you were able to solve all the previous year questions till now. Now, with that being said, I'll be starting now the STEM. With that being said, I'll be starting your STEM. Okay? Now, can we start? Can we start? Someone is asking what is the difference between fibrous root and your stilt roots. They are type of, first of all, they are type of your adventitious roots. Fibrous roots are not for just support. Fibrous roots are for your absorption. The main purpose of your stilt roots is support. Remember that. Main purpose is different. Okay. Now, let's understand STEM. STEM. The first point I'll write you here is, first point I want all of you to write down here is, does the stem grow from? This is for your both NEET 2024, 2025, all the aspirants. Everyone can watch the session. Now, first question I have for all of you is, the stem, right? Does it develop from your radicle or plumule? First question, does the stem develop from your radicle or plumule? The answer is very simple. Your stem develops from the plumule. Yes, sir. The stem develops from the plumule. From the plumule. The next point I want all of you to understand is, yes, sir, this, unlike your root, this grows above the soil. Yes, it grows above the soil. The next point here is, it is part of your shoot system. Part of your shoot system. The next point I want all of you to understand here is, in the case of your stem, if you look at a stem, it has nodes. These are the nodal regions. This is a node. And from the nodal region, the leaf will arise from the nodal region. Yes, sir. From the nodal region, the leaf will arise. Then we also have between the two nodes. Between the two nodes, we have the internode. So this is a nodal region. Between the two nodes, we have the internode. So can I tell, in the case of your stem, we have nodes as well as internodes. Yes, it has nodes and internodes. Now, your stem. Does the stem carry the entire of your flower, fruit, and your branches and leaves? Yes, sir. The stem here, which is almighty, it carries your flower, leaves, and branches. Now, the last point here, the last 2 points. Is the stem growing towards the gravity or is it growing away from the gravity? We know the stem, if this is the soil, the stem grows away from the gravity. So can I write a point calling it negatively geotropic? Yes, it is negatively geotropic. Is it growing towards the light? Is the stem growing towards the light? Yes, it is growing towards the light. So I'll call it positive phototropic in nature. Positively phototropic in nature. Yes, sir. It is positively phototropic in nature. So what is the stem? Stem is a structure which develops from your radic plumule above the soil, part of your shoot system. It has nodes and internodes. It has flower, leaves, and branches. It is negatively geotropic. It is positively phototropic in nature. Now, the next point I want all of you to answer here is, what is the color of the stem? The color of the stem is very simple. All of us know when the stem is green, when the stem is young, it is green color in nature. Yes, when the stem is young, it is green color in nature, but as the stem develops, it becomes brown color. It becomes brown color. That is because of your secondary growth in most cases. Because of secondary growth. That is the base of the stem. Now let's understand the next point. Let's understand the stem here. If this is the stem, can you see the stem has a nodal region and it has the internodal region. Now listen to me very, very carefully. From the nodal region, we have the leaves arising. From the nodal region, we have the leaves arising. So that is the very important point. So all the leaves which you see arise from the nodal region. All the arise from the nodal region. The next point I want all of you to understand is, what is a bud? What is the meaning of bud? So bud is nothing but, it is a compact, condensed. It is a compact, condensed young shoot. Yes, it is a compact, condensed young shoot. Compact, condensed young shoot. Now this particular young shoot, this particular bud, have you seen a structure? If you look at the structure of any bud, usually the bud is covered by your immature leaves. If this is your bud, if this is the bud is usually covered by the immature leaves. So what is a bud? Bud is a compact, condensed young shoot, and usually a bud is covered by immature young leaves. So in your NCERT, in your plants, we have two types of buds. Write down with me. We have two types of bud. The first one is your apical bud. Now students, if you know, if this is the stem, the bud which is present at the apex. What is the meaning of apex? The meaning of apex is at the top. So the bud which is present at the top, which is present at the apex, is called as your apical bud. The bud which is present at the top, at the apex, is called as your apical bud. And it is the same apical bud. It is the same apical bud which grows, yes, which is growing vertically. As the apical bud is growing, the leaves are forming. That is a very important line. That is a very important line. That is, the function here is, the function of your apical bud is to form the leaves. Formation of leaves. As your stem is growing, the apical bud is growing, it is forming leaves. It is forming leaves. Leaves are being formed in the bud. As soon as the apical bud is growing, leaves are forming. The next one is your axillary bud. The other one is your axillary bud. Now, listen to me very carefully. In the case of your axillary bud, this is your stem. Yes, sir, this is the stem. This particular point is your nodal region. Yes, this is the node. Now, I have told you, from the nodal region, leaves develop from the nodal region. Yes, sir, from the nodal region, leaves are developing. Now, this point here, this part here, this is called as leaf axil. This is called as leaf axil. So the bud present in the leaf axil is called as your axillary bud. In your leaf axil, there is a bud present here. In the leaf axil, there is a bud present here called as your axillary bud. And this bud here, listen to me very carefully, this axillary bud here later develops. It can later develop into a flower or a branch. This bud here, axillary bud, can later develop into a complete branch, or it can develop into a flower. That is the concept of bud. Clear? And as Rabindranath said, the largest bud is your cabbage. Yes, the largest bud is your cabbage. Clear? Any doubt here? Any doubt here? Fast tell me. We know the bud is a compact condensed young shoot. The compact condensed young shoot has immature leaves around it. Yes, sir. Then we have your apical bud. Then we have axillary bud. The apical bud is bud which is present at the apex. And as the apical bud is growing, young leaves are being formed in a acropetal succession. I'll tell you what is acropetal succession later on when I teach you about leaves. Okay. Young leaves are developed in a acropetal succession. And then we have axillary bud. Axillary bud is present in the leaf axil. In the leaf axil, we have the axillary bud. Clear? All of you are understanding? If everyone is understanding, I want thumbs up in the chat, because I want to know if you are following. If you are not following, if you have any doubt till now, you can ask me right now. Any doubt? Someone is asking me, will the board series and super series go together? Yes, it will go together. Don't worry. Now, what is the function of your stem? What is the function of stem? The first function of your stem is, obviously, the main function of your stem is your support. The main function of your stem is support. Then it helps in conduction. It helps in conduction of your water and minerals. Water and minerals as well as food. Yes, water conduction, minerals and food. And main other function of your stem is spreading branches. Spreading branches. Clear? Spreading branches. Now, this is the main function of your stem. Now, if the stem, students, listen to me very carefully. If the stem starts to perform some other function other than the main function, that is called as your modification. That is called as your modification, where we include storage, photosynthesis as such. Can we start? Can we start with the modifications of your stem? Students, if the stem is doing other functions than the normal functions, it's called as your modification of your stem. Now write down, in total there are 3 different types of modifications. In total there are 3 types of your modification. The first one here, everyone tell me. The first one is your underground stem. First one is your underground stem. Then we have subaerial stem. Subaerial stem. Then we have aerial stem. Then we have what? Aerial stem. Now students, listen to me very carefully. Now this underground stem, if it is underground, will it be green or is it going to be brown or any other color? Obviously it's going to be any other color, because there is no sunlight reaching. Does it have to do photosynthesis? No. So can I tell this underground stem here is non-green in color? Any other color other than green? The main function of your underground stem is your storage. The other main function of your underground stem is nothing but your vegetative propagation. Yes, the main stem of your main purpose of your underground stem is your vegetative propagation. If the stem is doing vegetative propagation, can I call it organ of perennation? Yes, this particular stem, under unfavorable conditions, it can act as a organ of perennation. It can act as what? Organ of perennation. Organ of perennation. That is, under unfavorable conditions, this particular stem, underground stem, will make sure the life of the plant is continued. So they are organ of perennation here. Clear? So can we write one by one? Do you want me to write one by one? We will do underground first, then we'll do subaerial, then we'll do aerial. One by one, in the next 15 minutes. Can we start? Can we start in the chat? I want energy in the chat, students. I am not seeing any energy. I am not seeing any likes. I am going to write every single detail now. I want all of you to also write with me. Okay. Now, first we'll do underground stem. First we'll do modification of your underground stem. Can we start? Show me some energy and we will write down with me. I'm telling you because these are the notes which are important for you in your, when you're doing fast revision. You need to have notes. You cannot go and watch my entire lecture again when the exam is near. Exam is like 4 days, 5 days. You cannot sit and watch the entire lecture again. That time, these are the notes which are going to be useful to you. Listen to me very carefully. Okay. Now, in underground stem, the first one, in your underground stem, the first one is your rhizome. The first one is your rhizome. The first one is your rhizome. Then we have your corm. Then we have the corm. Then we have the tuber. And finally we have the bulb. Now I won't be teaching you in detail for this. I will be teaching you what is important for your examination. That's it. Because this part was in detail mentioned in your reproduction in organisms chapter, but that chapter has been completely removed. So I'll be teaching you the basics of the underground stem. Okay, write them with me. Listen to me very carefully. The rhizome. What exactly is rhizome? Okay, I have diagram. I'll show you a diagram. It's better to see diagram and learn. It is better to see diagram and learn, right? I will show you diagrams and I'll make you learn. Now, this is your rhizome actually. The starting question I asked. Right? Is your ginger a stem or a root? Some of you told root, some of you told stem. Why is it a stem? Because on your ginger, we can see scales. Yes, we can see scales. What are the scales? The scales on the case of your ginger is nothing but your internodes as well as the nodal regions. Can you see this? Nodes. These are the scales which are present on your stem, underground stem of your ginger. Can you see this part growing up? Yes, obviously from the stem. Leaf will arise. Yes, leaves are arising from your stem. Then we have something called as adventitious roots. What are the meaning of adventitious roots? Roots which are arising other than the radical. Adventitious roots. We also have a bud here. Which can later develop into a new plant. Yes, which can develop into our branch, bud. And if you notice about your rhizome, is it growing horizontally or vertically? This rhizome, this particular stem right here, it grows horizontally. The examples are very simple. The examples for your ginger. Then we have turmeric. The other example is even your banana. Even the banana is a type of your rhizome. Then we have your corm. Now look at the diagram and tell me. This particular corm right here, is it short? Yes sir, it is very short. It is condensed. It is very condensed. And it is growing vertically. It is very short, condensed, and it is growing vertically. Very vertically. Now what are the examples here? The examples here are very simple. That is your colocasia and zamikhand. These are the two examples which is given in your NCERT. Now students, again, this is also an underground stem for storage. Then we have tuber. Now listen to me, tuber is very special. Very special. Yes, banana is a sucker. Banana is also a type of rhizome. Banana is a sucker, also a rhizome. Okay. Now what about tuber? Sir, what is so special about the tuber? Let me draw the diagram here. This is the soil. Yes, sir, this is the soil. Now, in this soil, we have an underground stem. We have underground stem, multiple stem growing. Yes, we have an underground stem. Now, every underground stem at the terminal region of the underground stem, at the terminal region of your underground stem, a small structure is forming. That is called as your tuber. That is called as your tuber. The swollen terminal part. It is a swollen terminal part of underground stem. It's a swollen terminal part of a underground stem. Now, does the stem has buds? Yes, stem has buds. It can have your apical bud as well as axillary bud. Yes. In the case of your tuber, we have something called as your axillary bud. We have the axillary bud, which is also called as your eye of potato. The eye of potato is nothing but the axillary bud of the potato. Clear? Eye is a axillary bud. Clear? Now we have the bulb. Last one is your bulb. This is the bulb. See, do you see this small chotu part here? Which when you're cutting onions, you tell this particular part has cancer in it. We're supposed to cut and throw the small disc-like structure. That disc-like structure is the stem of your onion. Stem of the onion. And even in garlic, even when you see the garlic outside, small disc-like structure, that is the stem. So we have a very reduced stem in the case of your onions. The same cancer-causing small substance, that is the stem of the onion. This is the stem. Clear? That is the case of your bulb. Is points clear? Let me quickly revise. In your stem modification, we have underground, subaerial and aerial stem. Your underground stem are non-green, storage and mostly for vegetative propagation. We have rhizome, corm, tuber and bulb. Rhizome is this one which grows horizontally. Yes, it grows horizontally. Example is your turmeric and banana and ginger. Then we have corm, which is short, condensed and it grows vertically. Example is your colocasia and zamikand. Then we have tuber. Tuber is a swollen terminal part of the underground stem and swollen underground part of your swollen stem. And this swollen part has an axillary bud which is called as your eye of your potato. Potato is an example. Then we have bulb. Do you see the small reduced stem of the bulb? That is your stem of the onion, which is an example for the bulb. Clear? Is everyone till now understanding the botany, or it's getting difficult for you? Let me know right now. Let me know right now if it's getting easy or difficult. Now, let's understand subaerial now. Let's understand subaerial modification. Can we start subaerial modification now? The first one in your subaerial modification is called as a runner. It's called as what? A runner. It's called as a runner. It's called as a runner. Then we have something called as your stolon. Then we have something called as offset. Finally, which Ravindra was saying, we also have something called as sucker here. Okay. Again, I will show you diagrams and I'll make you understand. Okay. Stay with me. Now, if you look at runner, at one node, this is a stem, right? If it has a stem, this is a nodal region. Yes. This is subaerial, so this is the ground. Above the ground, we have a nodal region. From the nodal region, we have a lateral branch arising. Yes, this is a lateral branch. Now, this lateral branch, again, after some point, on this lateral branch, we have a node. Every single time there is a node. From that node, roots are rising and we have a shoot is also coming from the nodal region. The same again from the nodal region, a lateral branch is arising, and whenever the node is coming again, roots are rising and shoot is rising. That is your runner. In runner, node is there. From the node, lateral branch, again a node, shoot and root. Again from the node, lateral branch, again we have shoot and root. That is your runner. The example is your strawberry, grasses, oxalis. Oxalis is another example for your runner. Okay, oxalis is another example for your runner. Oxalis. We have a lateral branch coming here. Now what happens in your stolon? Listen to me very carefully. If this is your soil, from this region where the plant is growing, from this region, this is a nodal region here, plant is growing here. From this region here, we have a node. From that node, I told you, from the node we have an axillary bud. Axillary bud can give rise to a branch. Yes. From this nodal region, a lateral branch is arising. But this time the lateral branch is forming a arc or arch. The lateral branch in the case of your stolon, it is forming a arch and it is going again below the soil, and whenever it's coming out, we have a plant. Whenever it's coming out, we have a plant. Again from here it's forming a arch. Can you see? And this arch is also called as your stolon. It's also called as the stolon. What are the example? The example is your mint and jasmine. It's not written here. Okay. Mint and jasmine. Mint and jasmine is the other example for your stolon. Clear? Then we have something called as offset. Then we have something called as offset. Listen to me very carefully. What happens in offset? In the case of your offset, what are these? These are your, see, this is the node. This is the node. What is this? That is the internode here. Yes, internode or the lateral branch is coming. This is the node. This is a node. This part is your internode. So in the case of your offset, it has very short internodes. Yes, in the case of your offset, very condensed, very short internodes. Apart from that, if you notice, does this look like a rosette? Yes, it has a collection of your leaves. This collection of leaves is called as what? Rosette of leaves. This collection of is called as what? Rosette of leaves. Called as what? Rosette of leaves. But if you notice the roots, do we have very compact, a lot of roots here? Yes, we have a compact root. The roots here are called as tuft of roots. What are they called? They are called as what? Tuft of roots. Tuft of roots. So what is this? In the case of your offset, we have very short internodes, rosette of leaves and tuft of roots. What are the examples? Example which is given in your NCERT are the two one, that is pistia as well as eichhornia. The eichhornia is also called as your terror of your Bengal. Why? Because this particular type mode can undergo vegetative propagation. This vegetative propagation is so fast. This offset is so fast, it completely covers your lake. That was called as your terror of your Bengal. Clear? That is eichhornia. Then we have sucker. Then we have the sucker. Now base of the underground portion. In this case, in the case of your sucker, if you look at chrysanthemum, you will be able to understand very easily. If you look at the chrysanthemum, you will be able to understand very easily. The base of the underground stem. See, look at the base of the underground stem develops a lateral branch. Base of the underground stem develops a lateral branch, then it obliquely grows. Can you see obliquely? then it grows obliquely. It grows obliquely. It is growing upwards and it is forming a new plant. Listen to me very carefully. In the case of your sucker, we have the base of the underground stem grows little laterally, then it obliquely grows upwards. These are the lines of your NCERT. I am showing you in the form of image here. What is the meaning of your sucker? In sucker, base of the underground stem grows laterally, then it obliquely grows up to form a new plant. What are the examples? Examples here which is given in your NCERT here is banana, pineapple and chrysanthemum. Banana, pineapple and chrysanthemum are the examples for your sucker. Clear? I am going one by one. I am showing you diagrammatically so you can understand it better. If I just write and show you, you will not understand this. Diagram is so important here. Diagram. Clear? Then we have certain other modifications. Can we do some aerial modifications now? Can we do some aerial modifications? The first one, your aerial modification, is your phylloclad. How many of you know what is phylloclad? How many of you know what is phylloclad? In the case of your phylloclad, the leaf. In the case of your stem. In the case of your phylloclad, the stem becomes very fleshy. The stem becomes very fleshy and it starts to do photosynthesis. In your phylloclad, which is an aerial modification, the stem becomes fleshy and it starts to do photosynthesis. And this fleshy stem can be very flat or it can be cylindrical. This fleshy stem here can be flat. The example is your opuntia. The example here is opuntia, where the stem is very flat, or the stem can be cylindrical. The stem can be cylindrical. The example is euphorbia. That is called as your phylloclad. That is called as your phylloclad. It's here. Oh, it's here. Phylloclad, where the stem becomes very fleshy and it starts to do photosynthesis. It starts to do what? Photosynthesis. Example is your flat is opuntia, cylindrical is your euphorbia. Clear? The next one is your tendrils. Next one is tendrils. What happens in tendrils? In case of your tendrils, this is the stem, this is the nodal region. In the nodal region, we have a leaf axil, axillary bud. So in the case of your tendrils, the axillary bud gets modified. The axillary bud gets modified into tendrils. Gets modified into tendrils. And remember students, the tendrils in the case of your stem modification is more branched. The tendrils here which are formed here are more branched in nature. The tendrils here are what? More branched. So this is your leaf axil. We had your axillary bud here. Axillary bud gets modified to tendrils. The example here is your cucurbita. The example is your cucurbita, which is nothing but your cucumber. We have pumpkin. The pumpkins, right? Pumpkin. We have pumpkins. We also have grapes. We also have grapevines and also watermelon. We also have watermelons. These are the following examples for the tendrils which is given in your NCERT, where axillary bud gets modified into tendrils. Example is cucurbita, cucumber, pumpkin, grapevine and watermelon. Clear? The next one is thorns. What happens in thorns? Again in the thorns, the axillary bud. Again in the case of thorns, the axillary bud gets modified. Axillary bud gets modified into woody spike-like structure. Woody spike-like structure called as thorns. So in the case of your stem modification, aerial modification, axillary gets modified into woody spiky structure called as your thorns. What is the function? The function is very simple. Thorns function is protecting the herbaceous plants from herbivores. Your cow, buffalo, goat, but when they come and eat the grass, if the thorns are present like this, if thorns are present like this, will the cow eat it again? No. So plant's defense mechanism is a thorn. Defense mechanism is a thorn. Let's go over the entire modifications. We have underground, rhizome, tuber, corm and bulb. In subaerial we had runner, stolon, offset and sucker. In aerial we had tendrils, thorn and phylloclad. Phylloclad. Clear? Clear? All of you are understanding, right? All of you are understanding. This is the most important part here. See here. Your NCERT is giving modification of stem, one big paragraph. Okay. See here. We have underground stem modification. Yes. Underground stem modification. Underground stem modification here. That is your potato, ginger. Potato, tuber, ginger, rhizome, zamikhand and colocasia, which is your corm modification, are modified for storage in food. Then they also act as organ of perennation. I told you, organ of perennation. They help in propagating new life to the tide over the conditions of unfavorable growth. The stem tendrils, I told you, tendrils which develop from your axillary bud. And we have your example is again here, cucurbita, pumpkin, watermelon. Then we have thorns. Example is your citrus and bougainvillea, which is aerial modification. Then we also have your euphorbia here, opuntia and euphorbia, which is a phylloclad, which is again aerial stem modification. Then we have your mint and jasmine, which is your stolon. Then we have your grass, strawberry, which is runner. Then we have your lateral branches from the base of the main axis growing here. Lateral branches arising from the base of the stem, main axis, after growing aerially from some time, they arch downwards. They're arching downwards. What is that? That is again your stolon. I told you, touch the ground. Then we have your lateral branch with short internodes, rosette of leaves, tuft of roots. That is your nothing but, what is it? It is your offset, which is seen in the case of your pistia as well as eichhornia. Pistia and eichhornia. In banana and pineapple and chrysanthemum, lateral branches originate from the base and the underground portion of the main stem grows horizontally. Remember the diagram of your chrysanthemum. The underground stem is growing horizontally, obliquely it's going upwards again. See here, beneath the soil, and then comes out obliquely upwards, giving rise to the leafy shoot. That is your sucker. These are the examples given here. Storage, tendril, bougainvillea. This should be not spike, this should be thorn modification. Again we have your runner here. Oxalis is also an example for your runner. Oxalis is another example for your runner. Solve some questions. Solve some questions fast. Let's solve some questions. Students, I am covering every line of your NCERT. After my class, I want you to read the NCERT. Every single point to you will be crystal clear. That's my guarantee. Every single point will be crystal clear to you. Okay. In bougainvillea, the thorns are modification of. We just learned in the case of thorns. Is it a root modification, leaf modification, stipule or stem? We just learned it is a stem modification. It is a aerial stem modification. Aerial stem modification. Can we start the leaves now? Can we start with the leaves? Very important now. Leaves are very important. Can we start with the leaves? Now, what to tell about leaves? What are leaves? Can anyone in the chat tell me what is a leaf? What is a leaf? What is a leaf? So all of us know leaf is actually as your photosynthetic organ. Yes, the main photosynthetic organ of your leaf is nothing but your photosynthesis. With me, it can do photosynthesis because the leaf has chlorophyll, mesophyll cells. It can do photosynthesis. Now, how does a leaf develop? How does a leaf develop? I told you when I was teaching bud, leaves arise from the activity of your SAM, from the activity of your shoot apical meristem. It arises from your leaf arise from activity of SAM, shoot apical meristem. From the node, no. Yes, they arise from the node. They arise at node. But how they are developing? They develop, not arise. They develop. They develop by the activity of SAM. But where do you develop? They develop at the node. They arise at node. See, this is your stem. As the stem is growing, as your SAM, shoot apical meristem, with your apical bud, with the apical bud, it is growing up. As your SAM, shoot apical meristem is growing, it is leaving leaves behind. At where? They are formed at the nodal regions. At the nodal regions, leaves are getting developed. At the nodal regions, leaves are getting developed. Clear? Now, the next point I have to teach you is present at the node. Not arise. Present, I'll just write present at the node. They are present at the node. Present at the node. Now, leaves arise in a acropetal succession. They arise in a acropetal succession. What is the meaning of that? Leaf arise at a acropetal succession. Acropetal succession. The meaning of acropetal succession is what? Young leaves at the top, old leaves at the bottom, old leaves at bottom. This is how the leaves grow. Young leaves at the top, old leaves at the bottom. That is the meaning of acropetal succession. Acropetal manner or acropetal succession. Now, can we look at some parts of the leaf now? Different parts of the leaf. Let's look at the diagram and let's understand with the help of a diagram. Yes, this is a diagram from your NCERT. If you look at the main part of the leaf, the main part of your leaf is, the first one is your lamina. The first one is the lamina. The wide, the most broad region of your leaf is called as lamina. Then we have stalk. We have a stalk of the leaf. Stalk of a leaf is called as petiole. Second important point. Now this part here is called as your leaf base. Third important point, called as leaf base. Now this region is your leaf axil. In the leaf axil, what do you find? This is your leaf axil. In the leaf axil, we find the axillary bud. In the leaf axil, we find the axillary bud. Axillary bud. Now, where does the leaf grow? This actually is a nodal region. This is a node. At the node like this, at the node, a leaf is arising. Now, one more question I'll ask all my students. If you have attended pulvinus, I'll teach you Shiv Kumar, I'll teach you what is pulvinus. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll teach you what is pulvinus. If you look at the petiole, if my students are there, they will know petiole is made up of which type of tissue? Tell me fast. All of us know petiole is made up of your collenchyma, because collenchyma makes the petiole flexible. Because the leaf is flexible, right? The leaf petiole is flexible. It is made up of your collenchyma tissue. That is petiole. Clear? Clear. Now, the leaf base. Shiv Kumar was telling me, sir, tell me about leaf base or pulvinus leaf base. Now, students, listen to me very carefully. the leaf base can become swollen. Yes, the leaf base can become swollen. The swollen leaf base, the leaf base when it becomes swollen, it is called as pulvinate or pulvinous leaf base. This is seen in the case of your Leguminosae. Where is it seen? This is seen in the case of your Leguminosae. Leguminosae. In Leguminosae we see swollen leaf base. Can you see here also? Swollen leaf base. That is called as pulvinate or pulvinous. Understood, Shiv Kumar? Amazing. The next one I want to teach you is in your leaf. In the leaf we have something called as leaf base. In the leaf base we have a reduced leaf-like structure which is present in a pair where the two sides called as your stipules. If you see here also, there is a stipule. There is a stipule. Stipule function is very simple. Again, stipule function is again like protection and also photosynthesis. Those are the main functions of your stipule. Function of your stipule, which are condensed leaf-like structure. The next point I have to teach you is sheathing leaf base. Now, in the case of monocots, this is the nodal region. Yes, sir, this is the nodal region. In the nodal region, what happens? The leaf base completely or partially, the leaf base completely or partially cover the entire stem. See here, can you see? This is the leaf base. Leaf base is actually partially covering the main stem. That is called as what? Sheathing leaf base. This is seen in the case of your monocots. This seen in the case of your monocots. That is leafing sheath base. Leaf base can completely or partially cover your leaf stem. It can completely, leafing sheath base can partially cover the stem. What is the function of this? What is the function of the sheathing leaf base? Can anyone tell me? The function here is protecting the intercalary meristem. It is protecting the intercalary meristem, which is found only in the case of your monocots. Protecting the intercalary meristem. Clear? Now, let's understand venation. Now, let me draw a small leaf here. Yes, sir. This is a leaf. A leaf. This is your lamina. In the middle of the leaf, we have something called as midrib. Now, this midrib is nothing but your largest vein. So your midrib is a largest vein. So veins are a structure which are found on your leaf, which has a function of conducting water and food. Clear? Veins are a structure. Veins and veinlets are a structure which are found on your leaf, whose main function is conduction of water and food. Clear? That is your veins. Now, arrangement of these veins, and veinlets is called as venation. Is called as what? Venation. Arrangement of the veins, arrangement of the veinlets is called as your what? Venation. So in total we have two types of venation. Yes, we have two types of venation. Yes. If you look at the venation, we have two types. One is called as your reticulate venation. Other one is called as your parallel venation. Now, in the case of your reticulate venation, students, the the veins and veinlets, they form a mesh, they form a network. In the case of your vein, the veinlets can run parallel like this, they can go parallel like this, or they can also go parallel like this. This is the parallel arrangement of the venation of veins or veinlets. Now this parallel venation is mostly seen in the case of your monocots, while your reticulated venation is seen in the case of your dicots. Reticular venation is seen in the case of your dicots. Amazing. A very easy concept. I want all of you to understand this. The next one is venation is done. I believe none of you should have any doubt in the case of your venation anymore. Clear? The next concept I have to teach you here is, no wait, I have diagrams. Yes, see, can you see this? This is called as your veinlets form a network, mostly in the scene of dicots, and this is your parallel venation. This is your amazing banana leaf which we eat our food in. I love eating banana leaf. That the food tastes even better. The wedding food, amazing. First of all, parallel in the case of your monocots. Now can we do some of the, hello Gopika, Gopika is here, Gopika ma'am is here. Can we understand types of leaves now? In total, there are 2 types of leaves. Yes. I am also hungry. What to do? I am also hungry here. Now, we have 2 types of leaves. One is called as your simple leaf. One is called as your simple leaf. Other one is called as your compound leaf. Simple leaf and compound leaf. Can we understand? Yes, ma'am is watching the session because botany is interesting. So students, let's understand the difference between your simple leaf and compound leaf. I've told you this so many times, but I am telling you again for all the new watchers, for all the new students, what is the difference between a simple leaf and a compound leaf. Listen to me very carefully. Now, in your simple leaf, this is a simple leaf where a margin is entire. This is also a simple leaf. This is also a simple leaf. So students, in the case of your simple leaf, the incisions, in the case of your simple leaf, these are called as your incisions. This is your midrib. This is your midrib. So students, in the case of your simple leaf, the incisions do not touch the midrib. Write down with me. In the case of simple leaf, the incisions do not touch the midrib. Incisions do not touch the midrib in the case of your simple leaf. Let's understand compound leaf. In the case of your compound leaf, this is your main midrib. Imagine this is the entire leaf. In the case of your compound leaf, the incisions actually they touch the midrib. In the case of your compound leaf, the incisions actually touch your midrib like this. Incisions actually touch the midrib. And when this happens, we call these structures. When this happens, the small incisions which touch the midrib, we call them leaflets. We call them leaflets. We call them leaflets. Now, what about the main midrib? The midrib here has a special name now. The midrib is called as your rachis now. Midrib is called as what? Rachis. The midrib is called as what? Rachis. The midrib is called as what? Rachis here now. Clear? Do you know the difference between simple leaf and compound leaf now? Now I'll teach you incisions of lamina. Yes, the incisions of your lamina. I'll show you a diagram. Wait here. Look at this diagram. This is a simple leaf. In the simple leaf, this entire laminas incisions are not touching the midrib. Incisions are not touching the midrib. That is called as a simple leaf. But in the case of your compound leaf, each one is a leaflet. It is touching the midrib. It is touching a midrib. Now, in case of your compound leaf, we have two types. Listen to me very carefully now. Listen to the definitions. Draw the diagram. Okay. Draw the diagram. In the case of your compound leaf, we have two types. One is called as your pinnately compound leaf. Other one is called as your palmately compound leaf. Other one is called as what? Palmately compound leaf. Palmately compound leaf. Now listen to me very, very carefully. The difference I'll show you with the help of diagram. Listen to me very carefully, all of you. Very, very carefully. This is your stem. Yes, sir, that is a stem. This is a node. On the stem, we have node. Now, from the nodal region, a leaf is arising. Yes. This is your leaf. This is your compound leaf. The midrib of the compound leaf is called as your rachis. Listen to me very carefully. In the case of your pinnately compound leaf, the rachis is attached to the petiole. Then the petiole is attached to the nodal region. Listen to me very carefully. In the case of your pinnately compound leaf, we have the compound leaf, which has a common axis called as rachis. Rachis is attached to the petiole. The petiole is attached to the nodal region of the stem. But in the case of palmately compound leaf, all the leaves are attached to directly to the tip of the petiole. That is the main difference. The main difference here is, in the case of your pinnately compound leaf, all the leaflets are attached on your rachis. Rachis is attached to the petiole. Petiole is attached to the node. But in the case of your palmately compound leaf, all the leaflets are directly attached to the tip of the petiole. Clear? This is your simple leaf. This is your compound leaf. That is neem. Example here is pinnately compound is neem, and palmately compound example is your silk cotton. Silk cotton is the example. Students, listen to me very carefully now. In this chapter, 95% time, 100% time, the questions will only come from your examples or statements. That's all. Remember that. So all these examples are very important. Clear? Now let's understand phyllotaxy. Now. Now what is phyllotaxy? Meaning of phyllotaxy is arrangement of leaves on the stem. So arrangement of leaf on the stem, the phyllotaxy is of three types. Arrangement of leaves. What is phyllotaxy? Arrangement of leaves on stem. I'll write down here. Arrangement of leaves on stem. In total, we have three types of phyllotaxy. One is called as your alternate, then we have opposite, then we have whole. We have whorled. Alternate, opposite and whorled. Write down with me the difference. Write down with me the example also. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of alternate? In your alternate phyllotaxy, leaf at each internode, a single leaf. Listen to me very carefully. In the case of your alternate, a single leaf at each node. For example, this is the stem. At each nodal region, only one leaf is coming out. Only one leaf is coming out at each node. That's why they are at the opposite direction. What is the example here? Example here is your China rose. Example is your China rose, mustard and sunflower. Mustard and sunflower. Mustard and sunflower. So at each node, a single leaf is coming out. That is called as alternate phyllotaxy. They are in an alternating manner. At each node, only one leaf is coming. Now, what about opposite? In your opposite, a pair of leaves at each node. For example, this is the stem. At each nodal region, we have a pair of leaves. At each nodal region, we have a pair of leaves at each node. The example here is your guava and calotropis. Guava and calotropis. Guava and calotropis. Now, what about world? In the case of world phyllotaxy, more than 2 leaves at each node. Simple. More than 2 leaves at each node. At the nodal region, if this is a node, at nodal region we have many leaves which are arising. Many leaves are arising at one particular node. The example is your Allostonia. The example here is Allostonia. Allostonia is the example for your word. More than 2 leaves at each node. Opposite is pair of leaves at each node. Then we have single leaf at each node in alternating manner. That is alternate phyllotaxy. Alternate phyllotaxy examples here is hibiscus, mustard and sunflower. See, alternate phyllotaxy. One here down, one up. Alternate phyllotaxy. Now, what about your opposite? Opposite is guava and calotropis. Can you see? At each node, a pair of leaves at each node. Again, at a node, a pair of leaf. Now, what about your world? That is Allostonia at one particular node. At one particular node, more than 2 leaves are arising. Simple, very simple. Examples are very important, students. Remember the examples. Now, let's understand leaf modification. Can we understand leaf modification quickly? Yes, sir. We can understand leaf modification. Now, I'll write down one by one. Please follow with me. Okay? Do anyone has any doubt till now in phyllotaxy? Anyone has any doubt in phyllotaxy? You can ask me right now. Ask me right now if you have any doubt in phyllotaxy. If it is clear, amazing. Okay. Now, in modification, the first one is your support. The wire is getting stuck in my shirt today. The first one is your support. Now, in support, here the leaf gets converted to tendril. The leaf gets converted to tendril for support leaf modification. The example is your pea plant. Example is your pea plant, which is Leguminosae. That is support. I hope you understand my handwriting. The second one is your protection. Alright, here. No, that one is fine. Dun. Yeah. Second one is your protection or defense. Second one is your protection or defense. Protection or defense. What happens here? The leaf, simple. Leaf gets modified to spine. Leaf gets modified to spine. What is the example? Your cactus. Cactus is a famous example for your leaf getting modified to spine. Then we have third one is storage. Third one is your storage. Leaf again gets modified to your leaf becomes very fleshy. Now this leaf modification, we all eat this modification. What is this modification? The modification I'm talking here is your onion garlic. Example, yes, your onion and garlic. We eat the leaves of onion garlic, right? Onion and garlic, yes. Then we have leaf gets modified for my legs are hurting a little. Leaf gets modified for modification of petiole. Now modification of petiole. Now this time the leaf is not getting modified. The petiole is actually getting modified. The petiole is getting modified, that is, the petiole becomes very fleshy, becomes photosynthetic, and we call this phylloclad. Phylloclad is your stem modification. Phyllodes. We call this phyllodes. We call this what? We call this phyllodes. Example is your Australian acacia. Example is your Australian acacia. Australian acacia is the example. Australian acacia. Australian acacia is an example where your modification of petiole becomes fleshy, it becomes photosynthetic, that is called as phyllodes. It is called as what? Phyllodes. It is called as your phyllodes. Where example is your Australian acacia. How many are done? Support, leaf gets tendrilled. P. Protection is your leaf gets into spine. Cactus. Storage, leaf gets modified fleshy. Onion and garlic. Now next one. Should I write here only? Yes, I'll write here only. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth one. Now the fifth one. The leaf gets modified for hunting. Yes, the leaf gets modified for hunting now. The answer is your pitcher plant. The answer is your pitcher plant. Answer is your pitcher plant. Leaf gets modified for hunting. That's your pitcher plant. Nepenthes and Venus flytrap are examples. Nepenthes as well as your pitcher plant. Now someone is asking me, garlic growths are not bulb. Remember, what's her name? Augustine. The bulb there was your stem modification. That is your tiny stem. That stem is getting modified. That is a bulb. Okay, that is a bulb. The leaf again are here. That is your modification. Leaves are also getting modified. The stem is also getting modified. Stem modification is bulb. Leaf modification is different, which we eat. Leaves becomes very fleshy here. Want to see some diagrams? Want to see some diagrams, all of you? Remember, the tendril is not branched much here. The tendril is not branched much here. See here, leaf modification tendrils. Pea plant, not very branched. Then we have your cactus. That's for your modification. Yes, cactus is protection. For protection, if you touch it, very difficult, right? Then we have your garlic and onion. Leaves are becoming very fleshy here. See, we have two types of leaves again. We have two types of leaves. One is called as your dry leaves. One is called as your normal leaf, fleshy leaf. The dry scaly leaves, remember, is garlic. The outer leaf you peel and throw. Similarly, in garlic, the outer leaf which you throw out, you remove it and throw. That is your scaly leaf. But inside the leaf, the thick leaf which you eat, that is called as your fleshy leaf which you eat. This one is Australian acacia, where petiole gets photosynthetic, that is a phyllodes. It is phyllodes modification. Phyllodes modification. This is your pitcher plant, Nepenthes. Nepenthes pitcher plant. Then we have Venus flytrap, where leaf becomes hunting. Leaf will go hunting in a little trap like a cartoon, right? Then we have inflorescence. That is the end of leaf. That was the end of leaf. Any doubt in leaf, you can ask me right now, students. Any doubt in leaf, you can ask me right now. Any doubt? Anyone? By any chance, if you have any doubt, ask me right now. Okay? Any doubt? Let me drink some water. Water break, everyone. Drink some water. Water break, drink some water. Amazing. All of you are following till now? Last 2 hours, we did leaf, stem, and root modifications. Done and dusted. One question will definitely come from whatever we just learned. From whatever we learned till now, one question is definitely. That marks is yours now. That marks is yours. One question, leaf, stem, and modification. Yours is confirmed now. Okay? My duty is done now. One question, 1 marks for you. Next one. Can we start with inflorescence? Can we start with inflorescence, students? If we can start with inflorescence, I want green hearts in the chat because I love botany. All of you love botany. So green hearts in the chat, and we will start with your inflorescence. 7 itself dinner. I have my dinner at 10 o'clock. Aram se late. Okay. Now, all of you know this, that in a plant's life, right? In a plant's life, we have the vegetative phase, then we have reproductive phase. Yes, all of you know this. In your plants, we have your vegetative phase and reproductive phase. When a plant reaches the reproductive phase, that's when it starts to develop flowers. Yes, so listen with me now. Listen to me very carefully. This is your stem. On the stem, we have the nodes. Yes, nodes are present on the stem. Yes, sir, nodes are present on your stem. Listen to me very carefully now. Don't by heart this. Yes, some are telling group of flowers, collection of flowers. Yes, but understand what is inflorescence. Don't by heart it. Understand. This is your nodal region. From the nodal region, we have a leaf. I told you, leaf develops from a nodal region. Yes. This is called as your leaf axil. Leaf axil, yes sir, this is called as your leaf axil. Now on the leaf axil, we have a axillary bud. Yes, we have a axillary bud here. Understand the concept, students, don't by heart this. We have a axillary bud here. We have a axillary bud. Axillary bud. Now I told you before, now this axillary bud can get converted, can develop into a flower or a branch. Yes, yes, you told me. This will develop into a branch. Develop into a branch. Yes, sir, it will develop into a branch. Listen to my words very carefully. At this nodal regions, instead of leaves, at this nodal regions, instead of leaf, flowers start to develop now. Listen to me very carefully. I told you again, at the nodal regions, we have the axillary bud. From this axillary bud, now your flowers starts to develop. Flower starts to develop from the nodal regions instead of your leaf. Now this particular axis is called as your stem axis, also called as what? Inflorescence axis. It's also called as your inflorescence axis, also called as peduncle. It is also called as what? Peduncle. It is also called as what? Peduncle. So what is the meaning of inflorescence? As the definition goes, inflorescence is nothing but arrangement of flower Arrangement of flowers on the floral axis. Arrangement of flower on floral axis, also called as your inflorescence axis. Arrangement of flowers on the inflorescence axis like this, or a floral axis like this, is called as inflorescence. Understood? Students, don't by heart this. Understand what is inflorescence. Inflorescence is nothing but on your branch, on your main axis, that is stem axis, also called as inflorescence axis, flowers will start to be arranged. Instead of the leaves, flowers are arranging now. In your inflorescence, at the nodal region, leaves are not developing. At the nodal region, flower is developing. And now what is this region? This is called as your internode. Yes, this is called as your internode. This is your node. In the case of inflorescence, the internode gets very condensed. Internode gets condensed. Thus, both of these statements are also given in your NCERT. If you actually read it, don't by heart it. Go through your NCERT, read the lines. It will tell you the internode getting condensed. At the nodal regions, we have the flowers now. Flowers are arranged on your inflorescence axis, also called as your peduncle. It is also called as your peduncle, is the stalk of the inflorescence. It's called as what? Stalk of the inflorescence. Did everyone understand? What is the meaning of inflorescence? How the inflorescence actually happens? Did everyone understand or not? Tell me in the chat right now. Minds are blown. You know what is inflorescence now. Okay? You know what is inflorescence. Amazing. All of you are amazing students. You know what is inflorescence now. Let's understand types of inflorescence. In your NCERT, we only have, luckily, only two NCERT. It's 2 types of inflorescence. Only 2 types. So lucky. I had to study around 10 different types, 20 different types of inflorescence. You are so lucky, you just have to study only 2. The first one is your racemose inflorescence. The other one is your cymose inflorescence. Okay? Inflorescence are 2 types, that is racemose inflorescence as well as cymose inflorescence. Now what happens in racemose inflorescence? Listen to me very carefully. In the case of your racemose inflorescence, can you see this floral axis? Yes sir, this is the floral axis, also called as stem axis, also called as inflorescence axis. In the case of your racemose inflorescence, the main axis continues to growth. It is continuously growing. Why is it continuously growing? Because it is in a race. That is why it is called as racemose. Remember it. Racemose inflorescence is in a race. That is why it is racing and it is continuously growing. Main axis is continuously growing. Can I also call it unlimited growth? It is unlimited growth. Unlimited, it is growing. The main axis is unlimited, it is growing. The flowers here are arranged in a form of acropetal succession. Tell me, right? Say it with me. The flowers are arranged in your acropetal manner. Arranged in the acropetal manner. What is the meaning of acropetal succession? Listen to me very carefully. Listen to my words very carefully. Acropetal succession is nothing but your, let me draw here one small chotu Q tree. This is your main axis. On the main axis, flowers are arranged flowers are arranged in a fashion. Remember, terminally flowers won't be there. Remember always, in the case of your cymose, racemose inflorescence, flowers will not be on terminal. In fact, flowers will be like this somewhere here. Will be somewhere here. So what is the meaning of acropetal succession? In your acropetal succession, young flowers at the top, young flowers at top, old flowers at the bottom, old flowers at bottom. How do I remember this, sir? It's very difficult to remember. The easiest method to remember is, if we have a race between a person who is in his 20 years old and if a person is 80 years old. If two people are running a race, one person is 20 years old, other person is 80 years old, who will win the race? Young person will win the race because he's still young, energetic. The old person, little bit of tired, right? No energy. So if this is a race, young person will win the race and he'll be on the top. Old person is little tired, little age is there. That's why the old person will be at the end of the race. So that is, racemose is a race where main axis continues to grow. That is unlimited growth. When we have a race, young person will win the race. So younger at the top, old at the bottom. Old at the bottom. Simple trick. Remember that. Okay. Now let's understand cymose. In the case of cymose, it is completely opposites. In the case of cymose, main axis, listen to my words very carefully, write down with me. The main axis terminates with a flower. Terminates with a flower. The main axis terminates with the flower. If the main axis is terminating with a flower, it is not unlimited growth. 1 second, students. It is limited growth. It is limited growth. The inflorescence here is called as basipetal. Basipetal manner. Inflorescence here is in a basipetal manner. What is the meaning of basipetal? Basipetal is again complete opposite of your acropetal. Basipetal is complete opposite of your acropetal. If you draw a flower, the end is a flower. Again, if you draw flowers like this, old will be on the top, oldest will be here. The old will be on the top, young will be at the bottom. Young at bottom. Young at bottom. Clear? Complete opposite of racemose. So students, remember the racemose. So remember the racemose. You can understand cymose is the opposite of racemose. Clear? Cymose is the opposite of your racemose. So in race, young is winning, old is at the bottom. So opposite is what? Old at the top, young at the bottom. Main axis terminates with a flower, limited growth, basipetal succession. Clear? Is everyone clear with me? Simple trick to remember? Yes, sir. Very easy trick to remember. See here. This is your racemose. Young flowers at the top, old flowers at the bottom. Racemose. Look at here. Old flower at the top, young flowers at the bottom. Cymose. Remember the diagram, see the diagram and understand. Old terminating with a flower, old at the top, young at the bottom. Young at the bottom. Then there was something called as solitary cyme. Yes, when I was teaching you the plant families, I mentioned something called as solitary cyme. What is solitary cyme? In a solitary cyme, it is a type of cymose, but in the case of solitary cyme, in the end, the terminal flower, the end flower is a single flower. In the case of solitary cyme, we have a single flower. See here, single flower is ending. That is, terminal is your datura, which is your solanaceae member, which is very poisonous. Then we have axillary, we have your hibiscus. Axillary ending is your hibiscus. That is your Malvaceae example. That is your Malvaceae example. Now let's start with flower. Can we start with flower? Everyone in the chat should tell me, can we start with flower now? Yes, this is not mentioned in your NCERT. Why? Because this is part of your new plant family. This is part of your new plant family. I have told you the inflorescence in the case of your Malvaceae is solitary cyme. It is solitary cyme. Clear? Can we start with flower now? Can we start with flower? Amazing. Are all of you following with me? If you're following with me, you should know by now you have secured so many marks. At least around 8 marks is with you now. 8 marks is with you. Now, I will write one line about flower. All of you should tell me. So, how many of you like red flowers? How many of you like red flowers? My favorite flower is white actually. White looks more beautiful than red, I feel. White looks more beautiful than red. Now I'll write one line here. Everyone should understand. Flower is nothing but a modified shoot. Yes, flower is a modified shoot. Okay, let's take a 5 minutes break and we start. Do you want a 5 minutes break? All of you need a 5 minutes break? Can we take a 5 minutes break and we start later? 5 minutes break. We have flower, so many types of flowers, so many parts of flowers. Then we have your fruit and seed. 5 minutes break. Okay, you can take 5 minutes break till what's the time now? 7:30. Okay, 7:30. Let's still take 7:30 break. Break till 7:30. Break till 7:30. The problem with break is, right, all of you don't come back only. The problem with the break is none of you come back. That is the problem with break. So promise me all of you will come back and finish the chapter with me. Because starting I asked you. In starting I have asked you, will you complete the chapter today? You said, yes sir, we'll complete the chapter today. So I want all of you to complete the chapter today. Let's complete the chapter today. Okay? Let's take a 5 minutes break and come back. No, 5 minutes is enough. I'll go from this side. Play of football. Actually, when I play football every day, not every day, I play football at least twice a week. Tomorrow also I'm going to play football. Yes, we are back. Yes, we are back. Yes, break is finished. Come on, we only have 5 minutes because after this we have your Captain Sir's class. So I don't want to take up his time. So I want to finish this class before 9. Before 9, complete chapter will be over. So how many of you play sports here? How many of you play sports? Let me know in the chat how many of you are interested in sports. So let's start with the... Can we start with a flower? Can we start with a flower? I see less people now. Every single time this happens, every single time I give a break, all of you run away. So can we start with the flower? I want to know if we can start with the flower. Thumbs up in the chat, hearts in the chat, lightning fire. I will know you are ready for your next topic. That's your flower. Can we start? Yes, let's start. Messi, yes, Messi is also my favorite. Messi is also my favorite. Actually, it's Iniesta, but yes, Messi is also favorite. Now, let's understand with flowers. Let's start with flower. So, flower is actually a modified shoot. Yes, this is a previous year AR question. It is a modified shoot where your shoot apical meristem, in the case of your flower, the shoot apical meristem gets converted to your floral meristem. Shoot apical meristem gets converted to your floral meristem. That is called as your flower. Flower is a modified shoot. So can we draw some... One more point after I tried. All of you know flower is the reproductive unit, right? Or should I tell again? Flower is a reproductive unit. Flower is a reproductive unit because it is involved in the sexual reproduction in the flowers. It is involved in the sexual reproduction in the flowers. So flower is a modified shoot where shoot apical meristem gets converted to your floral meristem. Yes, shoot apical meristem gets converted to your floral meristem, and it is a reproductive unit. It is involved in the sexual reproduction. Now, can I draw flower? Basic flower I'll draw, and I'll ask you to draw the labels. I'll ask you the labels also now. Now, what is the stalk of a flower called as? Can anyone in the chat tell me what is the stalk of a flower? We know stalk of a flower is called as your pedicel. Yes, stalk of the flower is called as your pedicel. Why am I laughing? I don't know. Stalk of the flower is called as your pedicel. Now, above this pedicel, do we have a swollen structure? Yes, above the pedicel, we have a much more broader swollen structure that is called as your thalamus. That is called as your thalamus or receptacle or thalamus. Thalamus. Amazing. Now, then we have in total, in your flower, we have 4 whorls. Yes, sir, we have 4 whorls. Now, students, tell me which is the outermost whorl. The outermost whorl is your sepals. The outermost whorl is your sepals. The outermost whorl is your sepals, also called as your calyx. This is your sepal. One second, I'll write calyx only. Writing is fun actually. The outermost whorl is called as sepals. Then, inside the sepal, what do we have? The bright color. The bright color which attracts the insects, attracts the pollinators, that is called as your petals. Called as your petals. And inside, what do we have here? We have your long stamen. We have the stamen. We know stamen has 2 parts. This is your anther. This is the filament. Anther and filament together they're called as what? Stamen. Group of stamen. A group of stamen is called as your androecium. Group of stamen is called as what? Androecium. Then in the middle we have what? In the middle we have a pistil, stigma, style, and ovary. Yes, this is the stigma, style, and ovary. Stigma, style, and ovary, that is your pistil. That is your pistil. A group of pistil is called as what? A group of pistil is called as your gynoecium. That is called as what? Gynoecium. So what do we have? We have your pedicel, which is the stalk of the leaf, thalamus, swollen part, then we have sepal, which is green in color, then we have petals, then we have stamen, then we have your pistil. These are the different parts of the flower. Now I'll ask you one question. Which of the following parts are called as non-essential, also called as your accessory organs, accessory whorls? The answer is very simple. The answer is nothing but your petals and sepals. Petals and sepals are your non-essential, or also called as your accessory whorls. Accessory whorls. Why are they called as accessory whorls or non-essential? The reason they're called as non-essential or accessory whorls because they are indirectly involved in reproduction, not directly. Indirect involvement, that is why they are called as what? Accessory or non-essential whorls. Now what are the essential whorls? Essential whorls are your androecium and gynoecium because they are directly involved in the reproduction. Clear? Now I'll teach you one more concept here. Listen to me very, very carefully for this concept here. When petals and sepals, they fuse together, or you cannot differentiate, you cannot tell the difference between petal and sepal, that is called as a tepal. That is called a what? A tepal. So petal plus sepal gives us tepal. Petal plus sepals gives us a tepal. A group of tepals is called as perianth. What is it called as what? Perianth. Is called as what? Perianth. Example is your lily family. Liliaceae. Lily, which you had before, it's gone. Okay. So petal plus sepal is called as tepal. Group of tepals is called as what? Perianth. Group of petals is called as what? Perianth. Clear? Clear? The next I'll tell you is bract. The next concept I'll teach you is bract. What is a bract? Now if you look at this structure here, below the pedicel, we have a leaf-like structure. Below the pedicel, we have a leaf-like structure called as your bract. Green leaf-like structure. If the bracts are present, it is called as bractate. If the bracts are absent, it is called as ebractate. It is called as what? Ebractate. If the bracts are present, it's called as bractate, obviously. If the bracts are completely absent, it is called as ebractate. Now one more thing here, students, I forgot to mention here is, what if the pedicel is absent? If pedicel is absent, what do we call then? If the pedicel is absent, then the flower is called as sessile. The flower is called as what? Sessile in nature. S-E-S-S-I-L-E. It's called as what? Sessile in nature. If the pedicel is absent, it is called as sessile. It's called as what? Sessile. Clear? Clear? Amazing, all of you. Now can anyone in the chat tell me? Have you seen this flower anywhere? Have you seen this flower? What is the function of bract? Very good question. Now function of bract is very simple. When the flower is in the bud stage, the protection is done by your bract. Yes, 10 by 10. In some cases, the bract is green color. Can it do photosynthesis? Ravindrani should say, yes sir, it is green color. It can do photosynthesis. Yes. Now this is your bougainvillea. This is your bougainvillea. The example for your horns, spines, right? Modification, bougainvillea. This is your bougainvillea. The pink color flowers everywhere you see, everywhere. Pink color flowers growing on your gates and everything, on the gate and everything. Pink color flower. Students, this pink color thing, can you see this one? This is actually not the flower. This is actually a bract. This is actually a bract. So what is the function of bract here, Ravindrani? The function of bract here is attracting the pollinators. The function again changes here. Colorful bract. It's a colorful bract. The function is your attraction of your pollinators. If you open the bracts inside, you can see the small white color flowers actually. Small white color flowers can be seen inside. So this is done. Pistil, stamen, petals, sepals, done. Petals, sepals, done. Now I'll teach you classification of your types of flowers. Now I can tell you type of flowers, two types. There are two types of flowers, students. One is called as your complete flower. One is called as your complete flower. The other one is called as your incomplete flower. Incomplete. What is the meaning of complete flower? The complete flower is a flower which has all the four whorls present. Simple. All four whorls are present. All four whorls are present. What are the four whorls, students? What are the four whorls? Calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. All four whorls are present. Then it is called as a complete flower. If any one is absent, if any one whorl is absent, then it is called as incomplete flower. It is called as incomplete flower. For example, in a flower, there is calyx, there is corolla, there is androecium, but there is no gynoecium. No gynoecium. Can I call it a unisexual flower? Yes, it is unisexual flower because it only has androecium. Only androecium, male flower. Incomplete flower. Yes. So incomplete type of flowers usually can be unisexual flowers. They can be what? Unisexual flowers. They can be unisexual flowers. But always remember, students, always and always, a complete flower will always be your bisexual flower. Will be bisexual flower. Very important point, write down. Very important point, write down. Okay? See again, non-essential, calyx and corolla. Essential, androecium and gynoecium. Can we start with symmetry now? Students, can we start with symmetry? Yes, sir, we can start with the symmetry. Symmetry again is part type, three types. I think we are drawing too many flowcharts today. Three types of symmetry. First one is called as your actinomorphic. The first one is called as your actinomorphic. Other one is, second one is called as your zygomorphic. Zygomorphic. The third one is called as your asymmetrical. 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 Now what is the meaning of actinomorphic? The meaning of actinomorphic is very simple. If, write down with me, a flower is divided, in case of your actinomorphic, a flower is divided into two planes in two equal halves in any radial plane. In any radial plane. If you can divide a flower, into two equal halves in any plane, it is called as your radial symmetry. It is called as radial symmetry, also called as your actinomorphic. It is also called as your radial symmetry or actinomorphic. Radial symmetry, also called as what? Actinomorphic. Examples are the most important. Examples are the one which they will ask you. The example here is mustard, datura and chili, if I'm not wrong. Mustard, datura and chili, which is given in your NCERT. Mustard, datura and chili. Now what about zygomorphic, students? In case of zygomorphic, a flower can be divided into two equal halves in only one plane. In only one plane. Same thing you write down. Only in one radial plane. On one radial plane. So in zygomorphic, you can divide the flower into only in one radial plane. What are the examples here? P. Gulmohar, B. Cassia. P. Gulmohar, Chuar. P. Gulmohar, bean and cassia. Now what about asymmetrical? In asymmetrical, you cannot divide flower into two equal halves in any plane. You cannot divide a flower into two equal halves in any radial plane. Any plane. The example here is canna. What happened? Oh my god. 1 second, students. Example is your canna. What is happening? Where is the pen? Where is the pen? Pen is missing. Example is canna. Clear? Example is canna. Now, do you like to look at the pictures? Do you want to see the pictures or do you want to skip the pictures? When you look at the pictures, you'll understand better. See here, in the case of your actinomorphic, a flower can be divided into in any radial plane in more than two equal halves. Laughing sound? No, I'm not laughing here. I'm not laughing. Look behind you. Twinkle, look behind you. Someone might be there who is laughing. I am not laughing. Flowers can be contained in any plane to equal halves, represented by your symbol like this. Then we have mustard, datura and chili. See, it can be divided in any plane in two equal halves. Datura and chili. Then we have zygomorphic. It can be divided into only one plane. It can be divided in only one plane. That is zygomorphic. Zygomorphic is also called as, bilateral symmetry. Didn't write here. Bilateral symmetry. What is the meaning of bilateral symmetry? Bi means two. Bi means two. It can be divided into two equal halves in only one plane. Examples: Gulmohar, cassia, pea flower and bean flower. This is how the flower looks like. This is how the flower looks like. Okay. Then we have asymmetry. Flower can be not be divided into any plane. See, look at the cassia. Can we divide it? Can this flower look like dividing flower? Absolutely not. See here, canna flower. Looks like some weird flower it is. You cannot divide it into, you cannot divide it in any plane. Not possible. Rejected. Asymmetrical. Solve the question. Solve the question fast. Try to solve this question. Try to solve this question. This is a NEET 2022 question. NEET 2022 question. The flowers are zygomorphic in. Simple question. Flowers are zygomorphic in which of the following? Simple question. Students, if you're able to solve the questions, I want everyone to like the video and also green hearts in the chat if this question is able to be solved by you. See, we just learned this. Let's see who can solve this question. Let's see who can solve this question. I'll give 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See, only here in the case of zygomorphic, there was 4 examples. P, Datura, right? Here, see here. The 4 examples was Gulmohar, Cassia, P and Bean. 4 examples alone. So here only B and E. Your Gulmohar and as well as your Cassia. Datura, chili and mustard as your actinomorphic. Amazing. Now, what is tetramerous, trimerous, pentamerous? Small concept question will not come from here. Basically, it is telling you the pattern of arrangement of your floral appendages. For example, there can be only 3 leaves, tetramerous, 3 petals, trimerous, 4 petals, tetramerous, 5 petals, pentamerous. Similarly, leaves can also be arranged, sepals can be arranged, tetramerous sepals, 3 pentamerous sepals, trimerous sepals. There is the number of appendages in number. That is trimerous, tetramerous and pentamerous. Now, can we do classification? Can we do classification based on the position of the ovary? There are 3 types again. Classification, again we have 3 types. That is your hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. We have hypogynous, very simple. Hypogynous, perigynous as well as epigynous. Epigynous. What is the meaning of hypogynous? Hypogynous, the ovary is superior ovary. Superior ovary. In the case of perigynous, it is half inferior. Half inferior. But in the case of your epigynous, it is complete inferior ovary. Inferior ovary. Now let me teach you this entire thing with the help of a diagram. You will be able to understand it, clear-cut definition. Okay. Listen to my words very carefully. Listen to my words very carefully. In the case of your hypogynous, condition, the ovary is situated at the top. Yes, sir. In the case of your hypogynous, ovary is situated at the top region and rest of the floral appendages, sepals, petals, androecium, petals, sepals and your stamens are arranged below it. So in this case, ovary is superior ovary. Ovary is superior. Ovary is situated at above. It is the queen here. Ovary is the queen here. Now in the second case, in the case of your perigynous, can you see the floral appendages such as your sepals, petals and all your stamens? They are arising from the rim of the thalamus. Rim of the thalamus. This is the rim of the thalamus. From the rim of the thalamus, everything else is arising. The other point here is, in the case of your perigynous, ovary is in the center. Ovary is in the center. Rest of the floral appendages are at the rim of the thalamus. Rim of the thalamus, every floral appendages is arising. Ovary is in the center. Now, in the case of your epigynous, the thalamus is growing. And it is completely covering. Thalamus is growing and it is completely covering the ovary. Ovary is completely inferior. Ovary is completely been consumed here. Ovary is completely consumed here. Clear? Is this point clear to all of you? See here, in the case of your hypogynous, gynoecium occupies the highest position. Gynoecium is at the top. Calyx, corolla, androecium are below it. Symbol is gynoecium is superior. So this is the stage. On top of the stage, gynoecium is present. Top of the gynoecium is present. Superior ovary. Example is mustard, hibiscus and brinjal. Mustard, hibiscus, brinjal have a mnemonic, but I suggest you write and practice, you will understand this. Write and practice, you will understand this. Then we have your perigynous. What did I say in perigynous? In perigynous, ovary is in the center. Rest of the floral appendages at the rim of the thalamus. Calyx, corolla and androecium are located at the rim of the thalamus at the same level. At the same level. Gynoecium should be in the center. Half inferior. Symbol is at the same level. At the same level, everything is there. Now, example is your plum, peach and rose. What is missing? Plum, peach and rose is the example. Plum, peach and rose is the example. Then we have your epigynous condition. In epigynous condition, the complete. In the case of your epigynous condition, the hypothalamus completely covers the ovary. Can you see? Completely covers the ovary. Ovary is inferior here. Ovary is inferior. Here example is your guava, sunflower, ray florets of sunflower. Ray florets of your sunflower and cucumber flower, as well as cucumber flowers. Examples, students, examples are very important. The question will only and only come from the examples. I'm giving it in writing. Please write the examples and learn. Please keep writing the examples and keep on learning. It's my humble request. See the question from your NEET 2020 phase 1. What is the question? Ray florets are hypogynous, inferior ovary, half inferior, superior ovary. What is the answer? We just learnt it is nothing but your inferior ovary. Ray florets of sunflower is inferior ovary along with guava and cucumber. Next question. The ovary is half inferior in. The ovary is half inferior. Half inferior is what? Epigynous. Yes. Perigynous. Half inferior is perigynous. Where is it? Perigynous. Plum, peach and rose. So plum, peach and rose is this thing. So plum is the answer. So can we start with the calyx now? Yes, all of you are able to answer the question. If you are able to answer the NEET previous year questions by today's class, I want all of you to like the video and show some love. Show some love with the green hearts, because I am standing here from past 3 hours and teaching you amazing concept of botany. So I want to show a similar determination from all of you. Okay. Now, what is the calyx? I already mentioned the calyx. Calyx is the outermost wall. Yes, calyx is the outermost wall. Calyx has what? Calyx is made up of sepals. Yes, collection of sepals. Green color, leaf-like structure. What is the function? Protecting the flower in the bud stage. Then we have your corolla. Corolla is what? Collection of your petals. Collection of petals is called as your corolla. Brightly colored. What is the function? Attracting the pollinators. Now, one concept I want to understand here, teach you all of here is when the calyx is free and when the calyx is fused. If the calyx is completely fused, it's called as gamosepalous. Gamosepalous. If the sepals are completely free, it's called as polysepalous. Polysepalous. Similarly, when the petals, there are multiple petals. If the petals are free, well, let's write fuse first. We'll follow a similar pattern. If the petals are completely fused and petals are completely free. When the petals are completely fused, it's called as polypetalous. Sorry, gamo. What am I writing? Gamos, petalous. When we have free, petals are free, it's called as polypetalous. Clear? Poly means free, gamo means fused. Amazing. Now, let's understand aestivation. Very important concept. Very important concept. Let's understand aestivation now. What is the meaning of aestivation? Aestivation is nothing but arrangement of petals and sepals. That is, we are arranging, not we plants are arranging petals with respect to other petals. Plants are arranging sepals with respect to other sepals. What is the meaning of aestivation? Aestivation is nothing but your arrangement of petals and sepals. Arrangement of petals and sepals, that is, petals with respect to other petals, sepals with respect to the other sepals. So in total we have four types. First one is your alternate. Alternate is here. First one is valvate. Pen color, white. The first one is your valvate. Then we have twisted. Then we have imbricate, and finally we have the vexillary. Now listen to my words very carefully. Listen to my words very, very carefully now. Very carefully. Listen, okay? 100% focus. 100% focus. In your valvate aestivation, in the case of valvate aestivation, petals and sepals are not overlapping. Yes, they are not overlapping. In the case of valvate, they are not overlapping. They are just touching the borders. In the case of valvate aestivation, they are just touching the borders. That is valvate aestivation. Petals and sepals are arranged in a manner where just touching with the borders, there is no overlapping. In the case of twisted, which is also called as alternate, in the case of your twisted, there is complete overlapping. That is, one part of the sepal is inside, one part of the sepal is outside. One sepal is not one part. That's what, one sepal is inside, one sepal is completely outside. That is alternate. Inside, outside. Alternate. Now let's come to imbricate. In imbricate, listen very carefully. In imbricate also, petals and sepals are overlapping. But in not a particular order. For example, if you look at imbricate very carefully, this one's petal or sepal is completely out. This petal or sepal is completely inside. The rest three are overlapping. They're not particularly in any particular direction. They're directionless overlapping, not any particular direction. One is completely outside, this is completely inside. Clear? The most important point, now we have your vexillary aestivation. In the case of vexillary aestivation, listen to me very carefully. This is seen in the case of your leguminous plants. We have the outermost large called as your standard. Then we have the wing. Then we have the keel. Standard and wing are completely free. Yeah, they're completely free. This is 1 plus 2 standard plus 2 keel. But the keels are completely fused. This is the floral formula for your corolla here. The petals. 1 plus 2 plus 2, where the keel is completely fused. See here, what is valvate? Sepals and petals in the whorl touch each other at margin. Example is Calotropis. Yes, example is Calotropis. Students, this is very important. Examples, I'm telling you over and over, examples are very, very important. Okay, very, very important. Then we have twisted. One margin of appendages, sepals or petals overlaps on the next one. There is overlapping, that is twisted. Example is your lady's finger and cotton flower. Both are part of your Malvaceae. Both are part of your Malvaceae. Then we have your imbricate estivation. In imbricate estivation, margins of petals and sepals overlap on one another, but not in a particular direction, where one is completely inside, one is completely outside. Okay, example is Gulmohar and Cassia. Then we have your Vexillary, which I just mentioned, which is common in the case of your pea as well as bean. That is your Leguminaceae or Fabaceae classification. Fabaceae family. Okay. Now I already mentioned perianth. What is perianth? Sepal and petal are fused together. That is called as a tepal. Group of tepal is called as perianth. A group of united sepal and petal is called tepal. Collection of tepal is perianth. It is found in the case of your monocots. Liliaceae, remember, tulip. Now let's understand androecium. Let's understand androecium now. What is the androecium, students? Can anyone tell me what is androecium? Androecium is nothing but collection of stamen. Yes. What is the meaning of androecium? Androecium is nothing but your collection of stamen or a group of stamen is called as androecium. Correct, sir? Group of stamen is called as androecium. Okay. Now parts of androecium. Can we draw? Can we draw the parts of androecium? Very simple. This is your stamen. In your stamen, it is mainly divided into two parts. Stamen is mainly divided into two parts. If this is your stamen, it is divided into two parts. This is a long, slender filament and a structure here called as anther. This anther is your bilobed structure. It is tetra. There are more, 4 sacs are there. It has pollen grains in it. All of that you'll study in your sexual reproduction of flowering plant. This is your anther. Tetrasporangiate. Yes, this anther is your tetrasporangiate. It is dithecous. Everything you learn in your sexual reproduction of flowering plants. But right now you just remember that stamen is divided in two parts, filament and anther. Now your NCERT says a line called as something staminode. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of staminode? Staminode is nothing but your sterile stamen. Is your sterile stamen. Staminode is nothing but your sterile stamen. What is the meaning of sterile stamen? The meaning of sterile stamen is that particular stamen of the anthers cannot produce viable pollen grains. Viable pollen grains cannot be produced in the case of staminode. Clear? Now, let's understand fusion of stamen now. I want all of you focus now. I want ultimate focus. If you're ready to give me ultimate focus, I will teach you properly what is the union of stamen. Listen to my words very carefully. This is going to be very important now. Again a flow chart. Again a flow chart. The entire fusion of stamen can be understood by adhesion in terms of adhesion and cohesion. Adhesion and cohesion. What is the difference, sir? What is the meaning of adhesion and cohesion? Listen to me very carefully now. 100% attention. 100% focus. Forget everything. Listen to me. In the case of adhesion, a stamen is attached to other parts of the whorls. For example, in the case of adhesion, a stamen can fuse with a petal, a stamen can fuse with a tepal. But in the case of your cohesion, stamen and stamen only will get fused. Clear? It's the fusion between the same whorl that is in the stamen plus stamen. But in the case of adhesion, stamen will fuse with the other members of different whorls. So in case of adhesion, your NCERT has two types. One is called as your epiphyllous condition. One is called as your epiphyllous condition. One is called as epiphyllous condition. Other one is called as epipetalous condition. Epipetalous condition. Yes, epipetalous condition. What is the difference here? Listen to me very carefully. The difference in the case of your epiphyllous condition is nothing but stamen plus tepal. Stamen plus tepal or stamen plus perianth. Stamen plus tepal or stamen plus petal or stamen plus perianth is called as your epipetalous condition, where stamen will fuse with the perianth or tepal. Clear? Example is your lily. Example is your lily. Now what is the meaning of epipetalous condition? Epipetalous condition is nothing but stamen plus petal. Stamen plus petal is called as epipetalous condition. This can be shown as your perianth, like this. This can be shown as your like this. Okay. The example here is brinjal. Example here is brinjal. That is the story of your adhesion. That is the story of your adhesion. Now let's concentrate on cohesion. Let's understand on cohesion. Simple. In cohesion we have many types. First one is your polyandrous condition. Yes, polyandrous condition. Then we have synandrous condition. Synandrous condition. Then we have syngenaceous condition. Then we have syngenaceous condition. Syngenaceous condition. Syngenaceous condition. One second, students. Spelling F. Syngenaceous condition. Then we also have other one is called as your Adolphus condition. We also have Adolphus condition. Now listen to me very carefully now. One by one I'll tell you what it is. In the case of your polyandrous condition, the stamen are completely free. Completely free. In the case of your polyandrous condition, the stamens are completely free. In the case of your synandrous condition, both anther plus filament. Anther plus filament here. That is, both your anther as well as filament will be fused here. Both anther plus filament, everything will be fused here. Stamen plus filament. But what about syngenaceous? In the case of syngenaceous condition, which is seen in your Asteraceae members, only the anther is fused. Fused, but the filaments are free. Filaments are free. Filaments are free in the case of syngenaceous condition. I hope that part is clear. The next one is your Adolphus condition. Yes, what is Adolphus? What is Adolphus condition? In the case of your Adolphus condition, only, listen very carefully, in the case of your Adolphus condition, only the filaments are fused. In the case of your Adolphus condition, only filaments are fused. Only filaments are fused. First we have your adhesion, epipetalis, epiphyllus, epipetalis. What is epiphyllus? Stamen plus petal, seen in case of your Liliaceae. What is epipetalis? Stamen plus petal, seen in the case of your brinjal. Then we have polyandrous condition, free stamen. Synandrous, both stamen and filaments are fused. Syngenesious, only your anther is fused, filaments are free. In the case of your Adalphus condition, only the filaments are fused. Only the filaments are fused. In your NCERT, students, in your NCERT, this is not mentioned. This is not mentioned. These two are not mentioned in your NCERT. But why am I telling you this? We know in your new plant families, we have Asteraceae. Yes, we have Asteraceae. In your Asteraceae, this is a condition seen. This is seen in the condition, and that's why. And that is why you should learn this. That's why you should learn this. That's why you should learn this. Clear? Is this point clear? Why am I teaching you this? Because in the new plant families, syngenous condition is seen, filaments are free. That can be asked a question this year. It might come, I'm very sure. From Asteraceae, one question will be there on your difference between your, one question will be there in difference between your ray florets and disc florets, or there will be question on this, or there will be a question on pappus. What is the meaning of pappus? Pappus is nothing but your modified calyx, which is found in the case of your Asteraceae. In the case of Asteraceae, pappus is a bristle-like structure. It is modified calyx. Remember that. Modified calyx. Amazing. Now, students, in this particular Adalphus condition, this particular Adalphus condition is further divided. This particular Adalphus condition is further divided into your monoadalphus, diadalphus, and polyadalphus. Monoadalphus, diadalphus, and polyadalphus. What is the meaning? In your monoadalphus, in the case of your monoadalphus, it's not mentioned, oh. See here, students, polyandrous, completely free stamen. In the case of your monoadalphus, the arrangement of filaments. So what I tell you, Adalphus meaning of Adalphus is only filaments are fused. If the filaments are fused into a single bundle, it is called as monoadalphus. If the filaments are arranged in two bundles, it is called as diadalphus. If the filaments are arranged in many bundles, it is called as polyadalphus condition. Monadalphus example is your China rose, monadalphus. Diadalphus is your pea plant, diadalphus condition. Then we have polyadalphus condition, example is your citrus. Can you see many arrangement here? One arrangement like this, one arrangement, one arrangement, one arrangement. That is arrangement of filaments in many bundle. Many bundle. Have you seen this 9 plus 1 arrangement? 9 plus 1 arrangement. Yes, Leguminosae. Now, epipetalous, epiphyllus done. Now, the one more thing which is given in your NCERT is classification of stamen classification based on length of the stamen. That is also given in your NCERT. That's why I'll mention it now. Classification based on length of stamen. We only have two types here. We only have two types. One is tetradynamous condition. One is called as your tetradynamous condition. Tetradynamous condition, where we see 2 plus 4 arrangement. We see 2 plus 4 arrangement. We have 6 stamens totally. How many stamens? 6 stamens. Out of the 6 stamens, 2 are present outside. 2 are present outside, which are short, and 4 are present towards the inside, which are extremely long. Extremely long. So 2 plus 4 arrangement, it is tetradynamous condition, which is seen in the case of your Brassicaceae. Which is seen in the case of your Brassicaceae. The other one is your didynamous condition. Didynamous condition. It is 2 plus 2 arrangement. Totally 4 stamen. 4 stamens. How are they arranged? 4 are long. 4 are long. 2 are inside short. 2 inside are short. 2 inside are short. This is your didynamous condition. See, this is your didynamous. That is 4 stamen grouped, 2 equal and sets of unequal. Example is your salvia and ocimum. Salvia and ocimum are example for your didynamous. Tetradynamous is your mustard. 4 totally, 2 short outside, 4 long inside. 4 long inside. So that is your classification based on the stamen length. So can we solve this question now? Can we solve this question fast? Can anyone solve this question? Anyone solve this question? Which of the following plants show vexillary estivation and also diadelphous condition? Question based directly on your examples. Questions is based directly on your example. The answer is nothing but your pea plant. Pea plant shows vexillary estivation, which is leguminaceae plant. Again, the same plant shows diadelphous condition, which is also your leguminaceae plant. Now, same question, diadelphous condition stamen is found where? In your pea plant. In your pea plant. Now, let's understand gynoecium. What is the meaning of gynoecium? Gynoecium is nothing but arrangement of pistils. Yes, gynoecium is nothing but arrangement of pistils. Yes, sir, that is gynoecium. Now, if I draw the gynoecium parts, all of us know. One second, students. Do I have space? Next slide. Yes, I have parts of gynoecium here also. If you draw the structure of gynoecium, we have the receptive stigma, we have the style, and we have the ovary. These three are the different parts of your three different parts of your gynoecium or your pistil. Okay, so this is where the pollen grain lands. Development of pollen tube happens in your style. Now, what happens in the ovary? What happens in the ovary? Now, one particular topic here which students still managed, I don't know how they don't understand, is what is the meaning of locule? Locule is nothing but a chamber. If you look here, students, if you look here, this is a chamber. Yes, this is a chamber here. Inside the ovary, it's empty chamber. That empty chamber is also called as your locule. This is called as locule or chamber. Locule or chamber. Now, this chamber can be unilocular. This can be once again. It can be unilocular, bilocular, trilocular, and multilocular. Unilocular, bilocular, trilocular, and multilocular. So you should know what is the meaning of locule. Locule means a chamber. Chamber inside the ovary. If it is only one, it is unilocular. If it is divided into two like this, it is bi. What if it is divided into three parts? What if it is divided into three parts like this? What if it is divided into three parts? It's called as trilocular. Many parts, it is called as multilocular ovary. Clear? Multilocular. Now, students, I want all of you to understand one more concept here is the carpels. Now, this is a single carpel. Yes, single carpel. What if there are many carpels? What if there are many carpels? I'll write here. Students, if there is only one carpel, it is called as monocarpellary. Two carpels, bicarpellary. Three carpels, tricarpellary. So, if single carpel is present, it is called as monocarpellary. If there are two carpels, called as bicarpellary. Three carpels, tricarpellary. Monocarpellary, bicarpellary, tricarpellary. Now this bicarpellary, tricarpellary, right? Again, there are two types. They can be fused. Right, two carpels are there. The two carpels can be fused together, or the two carpels can be free. Yes, they can be fused or free. Free is called as apocarpus. Fused is called as syncarpus. Syncarpus. So students, remember, depending upon the number of carpels, we have classification. We have monocarpellary, bicarpellary and tricarpellary. Now these carpels can be fused or free. If the carpels are free, it's called as apocarpus. If it is fused, it's called as syncarpus. Syncarpus. Clear? See, what is apocarpus? Multiple carpels which are free. Example is lotus and rose. Very important. They can ask you this example directly. The following are your apocarpus members. What is syncarpus? Syncarpus, where the carpels are fused. Example is your mustard and tomato. Mustard and tomato is the example. Now, the next one is classification. The next one is your classification based on the arrangement of the ovule, which is also called as your placentation. Which is also called as what? Placentation. Which is also called as what? Placentation. What is placentation? Arrangement of ovules. What is placentation? Arrangement of ovules inside the ovary. Inside the ovary. But is it always inside the ovary? Yes. But it is over the what? It is actually arrangement of ovules on the placenta. On the placenta inside the ovary. That should be the proper definition. What is placentation? Placentation is arrangement of the ovules on the placenta inside the ovary. Inside the ovary. If this is your style ovary, right? Inside the ovary we have your placenta like this. Yes, placenta is here. On the placenta ovules are arranged like this. Ovules are arranged like this. Let's understand placentation. Arrangement of ovules on the placenta inside the ovary is called as placentation. It is called as what? Placentation. Amazing. Now I'll tell you one by one. Let's understand one by one. The first one which is given in your NCERT is your marginal placentation. What happens in your marginal placentation? See here. Is it single chamber? Can I call it unilocular? Unilocular. On the unilocular, in the case of your marginal placentation, the placenta is arranged on a ridge. Placenta is arranged on a ridge. Placenta forms a ridge. Placenta is forming a ridge like this, and this part is called as the ventral suture. On the ventral suture, we have a ridge of placenta, and it is developing in a unilocular ovary. That is, placenta forms a ridge on which ovules are formed. Ovules are formed like this on a ridge. That is called as your marginal placentation. Example is simple. That is your pea plants. That is your pea plant. Then we have your parietal placentation. Now listen to this very carefully. Parietal and periphery. Parietal and periphery. Periphery means outside. Parietal means outside now. So ovules are on the inner wall of the ovary. So ovules are arranged on the periphery of the ovary. Periphery of the ovary. So where are ovules arranged? Ovules are arranged. Ovules are arranged on the periphery. Periphery of the ovary. On the periphery of the ovary. On the peripheral area, ovules are arranged. Now, can you tell me, is this unilocular or multilocular or bilocular? Initially, students, listen to me very carefully. Initially, this is unilocular, but later on, this becomes bilocular by the formation of your false septum. Formation of your false septum, this becomes bilocular, called as repulum. Called as repulum. So unilocular to bilocular conversion takes place in the case of your parietal placentation. Now, example is your mustard and argemone. Mustard and argemone, your marginal placentation was pea plant. Then we have your axial placentation. Students, in the case of axial placentation, what is the ovary, you tell me? Is it unilocular, bilocular, multilocular or trilocular? Simple, you can tell. It is trilocular here, but here can you see? Multilocular. Usually it is multilocular ovary. Here it is given trilocular, but it is usually multi to trilocular ovary. Here ovules are arranged. Ovules are arranged between the two septum. This is called a septa. So where are ovules? Ovules are arranged between the two septa. Between the two septa we have the ovule arrangement. Arranged to the multilocular ovary between the two septa. Example is China rose, tomato and lemon. China rose, tomato and lemon. Very important, students. This is the PYQ. Again a PYQ. Again a previous year question. Okay. Then we have free central. What is the meaning of free and central? In the center it is free. In the center it is there and it is completely free. Center and free. No septa formation. Again unilocular ovary. Example is your Primrose and Dianthus. Primrose and Dianthus. No septa present on the central axis. Finally, we have your basal placentation. In basal placentation, a single large ovule is present at the base. Ovules develop at the base of the ovule. Not single, there can be many also. At the basal region. Example is your marigold and sunflower. Students, this part I want all of you to know the examples. Only when you know the examples you can solve these questions. Otherwise, forget it. This chapter is not for you. The only way you will be able to understand and write questions in this, you will be able to make questions is if you know the examples. For example here, placentation in which ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary or in peripheral wall. What is the meaning of periphery? Is parietal placentation. That's how you learn it. NEET 2019 question. Then we start with fruit now. Can we start with fruit now? Students, I'm telling you repeatedly, the most important part in this chapter is your statements which I'm making you write. Examples I want you to write. Okay, examples I want all of you to write. Can we start with fruit? We only have two topics left. That is your fruit and seed. That's all. Done and done. Plant families already I've finished. Plant families, don't ask me right now. Plant families I've taught you in detail. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of fruit? Fruit is nothing but fruit is a ripened ovary. Yes, sir. All of us know that fruit develops into ovary, ovule develop into a seed, fruit develops from ovary. Fruit develops from the ovary. Now, can anyone tell me which is the hormone involved? Which is the hormone responsible for the formation of this fruit? Anyone? The answer here is auxin. Auxin is responsible for the formation of fruit. But sir, you told ethylene last class. Yes, ethylene is for ripening the fruit. We already have a fruit. The fruit gets ripened by ethylene. But for conversion of ovary to fruit, we need auxin. Ovary to fruit, auxin. But ripening of the fruit, we need ethylene. Okay, ripening of the fruit, we need ethylene. Clear? Now, what are the parts of the fruit? Main two parts are there. Write with me. I know all of you have been writing with me diligently till now, so I want all of you to write again with me. Listen to me very carefully. In your fruit, parts of fruit we have. What is the fruit first? You tell me. Ripened ovary. Fruit is your ripened ovary. Yes. Fruit has two main parts. The first part is your seed, which is the for the future generation. Then we have the pericarp. Pericarp. Pericarp is nothing but your developed from your ovary wall. The ovary wall develops into the pericarp. Now pericarp has three main parts. Yes, pericarp has three main parts. First is epicarp, mesocarp, as well as what? Endocarp. Clear, students? So these are the parts of the fruits. Entire fruit is your ripened ovary. We have seed. What is seed? Seed develops from your ovule. Seed develops from your ovule. Ovule to seed. Pericarp, it is the outer wall. Pericarp is the outer wall of your fruit, which is divided into three parts. We have epicarp, which is present outside, mesocarp, middle layer, and endocarp, which is present towards the inside. That is the endocarp. That is the endocarp. Okay. Now, let's do a classification of fruits. Types of fruits again. Now, in your NCERT, there are types of fruits. There are two types. There are three types actually. Three types of fruits again. I don't know how many times I did the flowchart today. So many flowcharts. Students, these notes are going to be very important to you. On the Telegram channel, the notes will be available to you. So please download the notes. Make your own notes from these notes. Okay? Notes are very important. Now, there are three types of fruits. One is called as your true fruit. True fruit. One is called as false fruit. One is called as your parthenocarpic fruit. Parthenocarpic fruit. Now, what is the true fruit? Remember, students, a true fruit only develops from ovary. Only develops from the ovary. Now, what are the examples? Examples are here. Most of the fruits are your true fruits. Now, what is false fruit? In the case of false fruit, the fruit develops from both ovary and other floral parts. These other floral parts can be your example is your thalamus, which is seen in the case of your apple. Apple is a false fruit. Other than we have many false fruits. Pear is also a false fruit. So both ovary and other floral parts can be involved. Ovary will be involved in the initial stages, but later on the other parts will be involved mostly. That is thalamus in the case of apple. Now, what is parthenocarpic? Parthenocarpic are the fruits which develop without fertilization. They develop without fertilization. Like your banana is an example. Seedless fruits. That is develop without fertilization. What again types of fruits? Again, do we have types of fruits? The answer is yes. Again, we have a different types of classification of fruits. Listen to me very carefully. The other classification of fruits is your simple fruit. Let me write a little up. The other classification is even more important. We have simple fruit. Yes, sir. We have simple fruit, where we also have aggregator fruits. Then we also have complex. What is it called? Composite fruits. Simple fruit, we have aggregate. This doesn't look like A. Oh. 1 second. We have aggregator fruits, aggregates of fruits, and we have composite fruit. Now listen to me very carefully. In the case of your simple fruit, a single flower is involved. Yes, sir. A single flower is involved. even in the case of your aggregate, a single flower is involved. Single flower is involved. Then in simple fruits, we have again two types. Again we have two types, where you have monocarpellary, when only monocarpellary is there, and when there is multicarpellary, more than one carpels are present. Whenever there is monocarpellary, it is again of two types. Again of two types. That is nothing but your dry fruit as well as your fleshy fruit. Dry fruit and fleshy fruit. In your multicarpellary, they are fused, they are in a syncarpous condition. They are in a syncarpous condition. Now what about aggregates of fruits? In the case of your aggregates of fruits, they are also multicarpellary. The fruits here are also multicarpellary, but here I told you they are syncarpous, means all the carpels are fused here. But in the case of your aggregate of fruits, the multicarpellary fruits are apocarpous. What is the meaning of apocarpous? The meaning of apocarpous is the fruits here are the carpels here are completely free carpels. The carpels are here completely free. Completely freed. What is the difference between dry fruit and fleshy fruit? In the case of your dry fruit, let me write down here extra information. In the case of your dry fruits, there is no differentiation in 3 layers. No differentiation. There is no differentiation into 3 layers. Into 3 layers. But in the case of fleshy fruits, there are 3 different layers. For example, we have epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. Epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. So in your fleshy fruit, in dry fruits, there is no differentiation in 3 layers, but in the case of your fleshy fruit, there is epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. In your single, we have multicarpellary also, which can be syncarpous in nature. Now in your aggregate, we have single flower, multicarpellary, but it's going to be apocarpous. The carpels are going to be completely free here. Now what about composite? In case of composite, the flower is developed from the whole inflorescence. Whole inflorescence gets converted. The entire inflorescence gets converted to a fruit. Example? I'll tell you, wait. The example here is your jackfruit. Right? Jackfruit is the example of your composite. Pineapple. Yes, pineapple is an example. Entire inflorescence getting converted. That is the example there. Here we have your raspberry. Example is raspberry. Raspberry. Here I'll tell you about fleshy fruit. I'll discuss in detail now. In simple fruit, which is given in your NCERT, see types of fleshy fruits we have drupe and berry. Types of fleshy fruits we have drupe and berry. So remember, drupe is a type of fleshy fruit which is from your fleshy fruit from your monocarpellary. From monocarpellary. Let me tell you the difference only. Let's understand the difference once. Let's write down the difference. It will be better for you to understand difference between drupe and berry. Can we write the difference? Can we write the difference between your drupe and berry? Understand the difference, you will be able to write, you will be able to solve more questions. The main difference here between your drupe and berry is your drupe and berry. So first of all, in case of your drupe, it develops from your monocarpellary. I told you already. The fruit develops from the monocarpellary. It develops from superior ovary. Develops from superior ovary. Then here it has edible or fibrous mesocarp. Edible mesocarp. The edible mesocarp is seen in the case of your mango. The fibrous mesocarp is seen in the case of coconut. See the case of your coconut. The last point here is it has a stony endosperm. stony endocarp, not sperm. Stony endocarp. Remember your mango, can you eat the inside part? If you eat it also, it's so hard, you cannot eat it. It has a stony endocarp. So what is a drupe? Drupe develops from your monocarpillary, superior ovary, edible or fibrous mesocarp. Edible mesocarp in the case of mango, fibrous mesocarp in the case of your coconut. Then we have a stony, very hard endocarp can be seen in the case of your drupe. Now what about berry? Berry also develops from, but berry develops from your multicarpillary ovary. From your multicarpillary syncarpus. Multicarpillary syncarpus ovary. Multicarpillary syncarpus ovary. Here ovary can be both. Here ovary can be superior or inferior, both. Superior or inferior, both here. Now main difference will come here is the endocarp. The endocarp here is soft. The endocarp here is soft. Example, tomato. If you look at the example here, see, in berry, the endocarp, can you eat the endocarp easily? Yes, endocarp is very soft in the case of berry, but in the case of drupe, the endocarp is stony, very, very hard. Very, very hard. Clear? Any doubt here? Drupe versus berry? Drupe versus berry? Done. There's a question here. Question is, identify the correct features about mango and coconut. See, in both, fruit is drupe. Yes, we just learned fruit is drupe. Endocarp is edible in both. Is it true? Is the endocarp edible? I don't know. Let me see. Mesocarp is, coconut is fibrous. Correct. In mango, it is fleshy. I just made you write the point. Yes, sir, it is correct. In both, the fruit develops from a monocarpillary ovary. From a monocarpillary ovary. So how many statements are correct here? Which is the wrong statement? Which is the wrong statement here? Fast, 10 seconds. It's a NEET 2020 PYQ. The answer is here. The answer is here in these 4 lines. The answer is 4 here. Answer is right here. Correct option is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is the first one. Why? Because we know endocarp is stony in the case of drupe. It is stony. And mesocarp is fibrous in coconut. Mesocarp is edible in mango, fleshy. Both fruit develops from your monocarpillary ovary. Students, are you able to solve the questions? This was a actually difficult question. If you do not know the statements, this could have been a difficult problem. But you know the statements now. I made you write the statements. So this is a very easy question now. Okay. See, coconut is a easy question. Coconut is a drupe, we just learned. The morphological nature of edible part of coconut. The edible part of coconut is what? Is it the cotyledon? Is it the endosperm? Is it the pericarp? Is it the perisperm? All of you know the answer? The answer is very simple. It is the endosperm which we eat. Edible endosperm. Free nuclear as well as your other one. Silver endosperm. Now, last part of today, give me 10-15 minutes. 15 minutes, I'll finish the entire chapter for all of you. Last part of the chapter is the seed. Amazing. Some of you are watching from the starting. I know I am seeing some names. I do not see Lakshmi Kumar. I don't think so. I don't see that name. But let's understand seed now. What is a seed? Seed is a fertilized ovule. Yes, sir. Seed is a fertilized ovule. Seed is a fertilized ovule. Correct? That is a seed. Now, can we see some parts? Can we see some different parts of your leaf? Can we see different parts of your seed? If you look at the different parts of the seed, seed mainly has your few parts. Such as your inside we have the embryo, which grows into a embryo, which grows into your plumule and radicle. Then we have cotyledon. We have cotyledon. Some of you still do not know what is a cotyledon. Can anyone in the chat tell me who knows what is a cotyledon and what is the function of cotyledon? Anyone in the chat who can tell me function of cotyledon? Fast, let me know in the chat. Then we have the seed coat. Seed coat developed from integuments. Integuments develop into your seed coat. Integument develop in seed coat. Can anyone in the chat, all the people watching there, tell me the function of cotyledon? Fast. Can anyone tell me the function of cotyledon? Fast. So what is a cotyledon? The function of cotyledon is it stores food for the growing embryo. The cotyledon function is providing food. What is a cotyledon? Cotyledon is a small leaf-like structure. It is also called as seed leaves. It is also called as seed leaves. Listen to my words very carefully now. We have the zygote. Zygote develops into embryo. Embryo develops into a new plant. Embryo develops into a plant. During this stage, the main source of food is nothing but your endosperm. Endosperm is the main source of food from zygote to embryo. But from embryo to becoming a plant, the main source food is your cotyledons. Main source of food is your cotyledons are the main source of food from embryo to plant. Confusion clear? Is the confusion clear now? You should remember this throughout your life. Throughout your life, remember this. Zygote to embryo, endosperm provides nutrition majorly. Then we have embryo to a plant as major of the nutrition is provided by your cotyledon. So what is an endosperm? All of you know it is a nutrient tissue, result of your triple fusion. That is in your double fertilization you will learn. It is a triploid tissue which provides nutrition to the embryo. Now, we have two types of seeds. One is called as endospermic seed. One is called as your endospermic seed. One is called as non-endospermic seed. What is the meaning of endospermic seed? In the case of endospermic seed, endosperm is present. Endosperm is present, mostly seen in the case of your monocots. But in the case of non-endospermic seed, also called as X-albuminous, this is also called as albuminous. In X-albuminous non-endospermic seed, the endosperm is consumed. The endosperm is consumed. This is seen in the case of your, mostly seen in the case of your dicots. Mostly seen in the case of your dicots. Are there any exceptions? Yes, sir. I'll teach you the exceptions after this. Okay, let's understand the exceptions also. See, in the case of your monocots, such as your orchids, do not have endosperm. Endosperm is consumed. Endosperm is consumed in the case of orchids. And in the case of your dicots, the castor, sunflower, and also some families, I don't know the names, I don't remember the names, some members of your Solanaceae. Some members of Solanaceae, in these three plants also, the endosperm is present. Endosperm is present. These are the exceptions. These are the exceptions. These are the exceptions. These are the exceptions. Clear? These are the exceptions. In the case of your monocots, endosperm is completely consumed. But in the case of your orchids, endosperm is still present. Endosperm is still present. But in the case of non-endospermic, non-endospermic means what? Endosperm is consumed, mostly seen in the case of dicots. But in the case of castor, sunflower and Solanaceae members, the endosperm is present. Endosperm is present. See here? Then we have two types of seeds. All of us know we have monocotyledon seeds. We have dicot seeds. Yes. Seed which have a single cotyledon, it's called as monocot. Two cotyledon, it's called as dicot. Yes. If you look at the structure of your dicot seed, it has the outer seed coat. It has your one structure called as hilum. What is hilum? Hilum is a structure where the seed was attached to the fruit. Hilum is a structure where seed was attached to the fruit. Then we have micropyle. What is micropyle? Micropyle is a small pore through which water enters inside the seed. And if you open the seed, we have the two cotyledons. Yes, two cotyledons. And this part is called as your embryonal axis. Embryonal axis. Embryonal axis. Now on this embryonal axis we have the plumule and radicle. On the embryonal axis we have the plumule and radicle are arranged on the embryonal axis in the case of your dicot seeds. So what is hilum? Site for attachment for the seed to the ovary wall. Micropyle is a pore which water enters the seed. Seed coat is the hard protective covering of the seed. Now remember, seed coat also has two parts. Seed coat has two parts. That is, your outer part is called as your testa, inner part is called as tegma. Testa and tegma of your seed coat. See here, non-endospermic seeds, bean, gram seeds and pea, where endosperm is completely consumed. But exception is non-endospermic in the dicot is castor, sunflower and some plants of your leguminaceae members. Then we have structure of monocot seed. In the case of monocots, one point I want all of you to remember is, in the case of monocots, seed coat and fruit wall. Seed coat is membranous and fused with the fruit wall. Very important statement. Very important. In the case of your monocots, the seed coat as well as the fruit wall both are joined together. Both are compressed together. And endosperm is very large and bulky here. Endosperm is large and bulky here. Yes, endosperm is large and bulky here. And the cotyledon present here. The cotyledon which is present here is called as scutellum. It's called as scutellum. Scutellum is your cotyledon. Is the cotyledon is called as scutellum. Now see here, seed coat and fruit wall. See, NCERT is also telling you, in the case of your monocots, the seed coat and fruit wall are completely fused together. Clear? Seed are completely fused together. And we have something called as a proteinaceous, a protein aileron layer. Now this proteinaceous aileron layer completely covers the endosperm only. See, it is only covering the endosperm. Only covering the endosperm, and it is also separating your embryo from the endosperm. Clear? Now here the embryonal axis. The embryonal axis has your plumule and radicle. Plumule has a outer covering called as coleoptile is the outer covering for plumule. Radicle has the outer covering called as coleorhiza. Coleorhiza. R, see, can you see R is written here? So R for coleorhiza. If R is there, so radicle is the answer. Plumule is for coleoptile is the opposite one. Is the opposite one. See, our proteinaceous layer covering the endosperm separates the embryo from the endosperm. Now this proteinaceous member also has a lot of enzymes, and these enzymes, proteolytic enzymes, can actually help in breaking the endosperm. Enzymes are present in your aileron layer. Now plumule is enclosed by your coleoptile, radicle is obtained by your coleorhiza. Monocots are endospermic. Endosperm is present, rice as well as maize. But in the case of your orchid seeds, endosperm is completely consumed. Even though it's a monocot, endosperm is completely consumed here. What is the difference? Seed coat is distinct from the fruit wall, but here in the case of monocots, seed as well as fruit wall are completely mixed. Yes, both are mixed. Two cotyledons, one cotyledon. Endosperm is absent in most but present in few. What is the present? Sunflower, castor and members of Solanaceae. Endosperm is present. Endosperm is present in most and absent in few. Where is it absent? Orchid disease, it is absent in the monocots. There is no productive sheath for the radicle and plumule in dicot, but in the case of your monocot, radicle is protected by your coleorhiza, plumule is protected by your coleoptile. Protected by your coleoptile. We have a question here. Cotyledon of maize. Cotyledon of the maize is called as, all of us know your maize grain is a monocot. Yes, it's a monocot. In monocot, we know we have a single cotyledon, and the single cotyledon is called as your scutellum. It's called as your scutellum. Cotyledon in case of monocot, single cotyledon is called as scutellum. This is your homework question. This is your homework question. This is your homework question. Wheat grain has an embryo with one large shield-shaped cotyledon. It's called as. Homework question. Come back and I want you to comment the homework question. I am very interested in this. I want all of you to comment down today's video. If you know any tricks to remember examples, if you know any tricks to remember example, I want in comment section. If you know a homework question in the comment section, and I want all of you to also mention how today's class was. And if you have any doubt, in any of the part, please comment down in today's video. I will personally reply to all the messages. And clear the doubts. Okay? That is my promise to you. You should maintain your promise that you will let me know how the session was, and also any doubt, ask me in the comments today. So this is a Telegram channel, because on this Telegram channel, students, every single notes will be given to you. Updates, weekly schedule, daily quizzes, weekly live classes, weekly mock tests, Super 6 series, and daily PDF sessions. Daily PDF sessions will be on this Telegram channel to you. See here, complete Telegram channel. Amazing it is. Please go join it. When we have PYQ quiz, if you go link in the description, you can see the PYQ quiz. And you also have Telegram quiz. You also have Telegram quiz in the description. Go join it. If you go to description right now, last 7-year PYQ is there. NCERT based question is there. Go solve those NCERT questions. This is our Telegram channel. Thank you so much, students, for attending today's class. And now Shreyas sir will start the class now. Go join the Shreyas sir class. I'll see you in the next class. Bye bye. Take care, all of you.